Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Maximus Crypto Will Fix network station. This is Max doing a live video today on QNT, Jasmy, and Stellar. So I hope everybody's having a great day in this great world. We're going to not only welcome some of you guys, but also let you know, obviously, that the headlines for tonight are basically Stellar, right? Soroban, QNT with the UK finance, Jasmy, right? That layer 2, IC Amphibian, messaged me. Obviously, he's a pretty well known name, a big proponent, I believe even an ambassador of Jasmy. And thought, you know what? Why don't we have old Max explain the significance of this layer 2 for Jasmy with Optimism, and then also explain Polkadot apparently for Jasmy on the cloud service. Sounds kind of crazy, doesn't it? Well, you got to understand the breakdown, and he hooked me up with some good links for you guys can do just that. All right, it's going to be a good show. Let's start off with the first comments of the day, and I just want to remind people and thank you for being here, obviously, on this Wednesday night. Big shout out to Will Fix for holding down the fort yesterday. And we're going to do just that. We're going to break everything down. But at the same time, we're going to recognize a super chat I just saw came from the other screen. And it's from Henry Brown. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. It says Jasmy Fund and community support. Thank you, Mr. Henry Brown. All right. We're going to give you a little heart on the other screen. There you go. And I also like to remind people to please smash the like. It does trigger the YouTube algorithm. This is not a sponsored channel. Shout out to Ronbo. Despite whatever you think, my friend, I am not being paid by Jasmy. I know I put out a lot of content in regards to Jasmy, but I'm not being paid by Jasmy. So I just want to throw that out there. That's not happening. I'll cover Jasmy whether I'm getting paid for it or not, right? All right, so we are now at 19 people, 15 likes on Maximus Crypto. Over on Will Fix, there's about 3 people over there watching. Not too bad. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So what we're going to do is start off by welcoming you guys because, it's something that we kind of like to do. All right, Brittany is in the house. She says, happy Wednesday. Good to see you, Miss Brittany. Appreciate you, as always. Tim Shea, who sprays from far away, having everybody hit the DECK. He says, hey, good to see Mr. Tim Shea representing what? The 589th district of the XRP Army and his fellow constituents. The Mayor of Crypto, the Crypto Commissioner, Mr. Tim Shea. Good to see you, Tim. All right. We got Bo Rabbit, who's in the house. That's a pretty cool looking truck, man. Welcome, Bo Rabbit. OG Crypto, Mr. Gangster. Tell us about your days of way back. He says, hello, everybody. Good to see you, Mr. OG Crypto. And we also have KK. We always keeping tabs on the whole thing with bricks, right? I think everybody should pay attention to that, whether into crypto or not, right? It's just like, why not pay attention to what, our foreign adversaries are doing? Some are not necessarily adversaries, but it's a shift. We're losing that dominance, right? So KK says Bricks Pay just launched, not CBDC, not even crypto. Transact all currency through different countries. Thanks for that report, KK. All right. Gerald, welcome back. Thank you again for being one of the newest members. And yeah, just really appreciate it. I want to state this. How did you actually find out about our content? Did you find out about it in regards to XRP? Are you like a Jasmy holder or Quant, Stellar? I'm always interested in getting that type of feedback if you want to share it. All right. Let's also welcome back Mr. Ahmed, best avatar in all of crypto. Good to see you, Ahmed. At some point he's going to say when moon, right? Yes. All right. Your hay disappeared. That's weird. Bobby Lorette, welcome. He said, hello, Governor. Welcome to Maximus Crypto Will Fix community. We're going to get into all the juicy stuff. On today's show, we're going to talk about the finance ministry. Going to throw a little shrimp on the barbie. Want to find out what happened to Mr. Will Fix last night. Why didn't he share his screen? Did he have technical problems? We're going to get into all that. No, I'm kidding. All right. Let's go further down. All right. You just got to have a little bit of a joke, right? Anyway, let's welcome J22, not to be confused with the F-22 Raptor. It says, hey, Max, what are your top coins? That you believe will create generational wealth, not financial advice. Well, that's okay. I don't expect everybody to know this, especially if you're a newcomer. And by the way, guys, we always welcome any newcomer. Maybe you're not a newcomer. Maybe you've been watching it for a while, and we just never seen you comment. Or maybe you commented yesterday when Will Fix was here. So my top 10. All right. Well, we'll start off with my top 6 because I always have that memorized. So basically, it's like a top 5, but in reality, I guess you could say it's 6 when I name them off. So basically, it's QNT and XRP are tied for my number 1, and I've always been pretty consistent about that. Stellar, I would say, is probably my number 2. And we'll get into also the Soroban update. Hopefully, you guys have been paying attention to that particular update. I don't know if Corey Bebe is here tonight, but I know he appreciates the Stellar content, obviously Augment. But Soroban, that's a big deal. So number 2 is Stellar. Number 3 for me is XDC. Jasmy. I know I talk a lot about Jasmy, but I would say if I had to do a ranking, I don't know. It's almost like maybe that's my number 3. I guess I kind of would say it's probably tied with XDC at this point, which sounds crazy. Some people don't like that. Hey, you asked me for my top 10, right? So yeah, anyway, Jasmy, H bar, so people are like, really? Jasmy had an H bar? I'm looking at it from the perspective of like, who's going to get me the promised land first? We might be one extra year farther away to getting to that promised land, maybe with H bar compared to Jasmy. I'm just throwing that out there. That's just my opinion. Sometimes people are like, content creators are not allowed to have an opinion. They're not allowed to have freedom of thought. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Anyway, after that, I probably would go with Algo. So where are we at? Like number 7 right now. Then after that, I'd probably go with maybe IOTA. I got some IOTA. So we're at 8. Filecoin, I got a lot of Filecoin. I got to go with that as number 9. And then, believe it or not, as far as number 10, I have to go with the one that bit me originally. And we don't really talk about meme coins, but I stick with the Cokes and the Pepsis. I don't chase the colas. You ever notice that? You know what I'm talking about in regards to layman's terms? It's like if somebody says, hey, what would you like to drink? I like to have a Coke, or I like to have a Pepsi, right? Nobody says, hey, I like to have a cola. Like, huh? A cola, right? I treat meme coins that way to a sense. It's like, I'm not chasing after, bat crap Inu or whatever the heck some of this stuff is, right? I stick to the Cokes and the Pepsis of crypto, and I still hold some Dogecoin. I still hold some Shiba Inu. So I guess you could say my top number 10 would be SHIB. Why, Max? My God, this is a utility-based channel. Because I put 8K into that and it 11x'd, all right? And I overnight literally saw my portfolio go from like 20 grand or whatever it was at the time to basically like 93k, and then it went up to like 103k, and then it was just like, what the heck. My third top performer, obviously 2021, was Crow. I don't really consider Crow part of my top 10 though. I guess it would be part of my top 20. Anyway, long story, long answer, but hopefully it kind of gives you an idea. I would probably still rank SHIB in my top 10. Maybe some people don't like that. Hey, too bad, right? Anyway. All right, let's also welcome the one and only Mr. Cool Cat Crypto. Good to see you, Cool Cat. We do have a little segment that kind of does some explanation, I guess you could say, in regards to Cosmos a little bit. It's not really focused on it. And as promised, I think probably by Friday, very latest Saturday, but Friday, I'm going to do the full deep dive on BSV and all these recent things that you've been talking about. Everybody's been talking about, should we take BSV more serious? Is it going to be like FOMO, FOMO like crazy? I guess we'll get into all that. Good to see Mr. Triple C, Cool Cat Crypto. All right. speaking of which, we have speaking of which, another veteran here, actually a real veteran, right? Representing, former Navy veteran, Mr. Boomer Effin Sooner. Good to see you, Mr. Boomer Effin Sooner. All right, just going to welcome a few more people. We'll start kicking it into what we have on the outline. Appreciate you guys, being here. Both channels combined, we're roughly around 42. Just to double check, we have 20 likes on Maximus Crypto and 10 on Will Fix, and we have about 10 people watching there, so we do appreciate that. We did read quite a bit from Maximus Crypto. Let's read from Will Fix. We have G Ride 395. Y'all know nothing on Zilliqa. I heard good things coming a while back, but I don't know what y'all say. You know what? I haven't covered Zilliqa in a while. When I first started this channel back in December 2021, I started covering Zilliqa heavily, mainly with a focus on Metropolis. I think it was like March or April. If anybody knows about this, Zilliqa went from roughly 2 cents at that time to like 23 or 24 cents, and it was because of the whole thing with Metropolis. And that has never been fully released. And maybe I still believe in it. I still have a bag of Zilliqa, but yeah, I need to. It's just there's so many things to cover, but I still feel as though, as far as a quality metaverse, Metropolis is right up there, absolutely. And I'm glad that you recognize it, G Ride 39. All right. Let's just welcome just a couple more people, or maybe a few. Rivers in the house. Glad to have you. Thank you again, Henry Brown, for the $2 super chat. Going also further now, we have, let's see here, Token 7. Welcome back. Welcome back. Corey Bibe. There he is. Good evening, everyone. I wish you all the best in health and wealth. Welcome, Corey Bibe, aka Jasmy Not the Scam. Right? And we do have some great Jasmy content for you tonight. All right, Fluffy Fluff and the Banana Hammocks. Hi, Max, and the usual suspects. Thank you for being here. Lawrence Williams. He says, yo, yo. I don't think I've ever seen you, Lawrence. Cool look really, hippity hip hop. You don't stop a rocking, right? Let's welcome Lawrence Williams. All right. Little known fact, you guys can't really see it on the screen. I'm not wearing it right now. If you're wondering what that necklace is that I wear, it's a Wu-Tang Clan necklace, and I've had it since I was 15 years old. Isn't that crazy? Anyway. All right. Uncle Thursday is in the house. Good to see you. He says, all I know is I'm in the right ones. Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. Robert Williams in the house. And Gerald, let's read this real quick. Been watching you on YouTube for a while, Max. Always good info. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. He said, what up? What happening? And let's see here. Legendary. We rich yet? Not yet, but I think we're gonna get there. All right. Let's also welcome, but good to see you, Legendary. Appreciate you being a regular, man. Dwight Montrez. All right. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to get into the first thing that is part of the lineup. Now, I know a lot of people are waiting for that Jasmy content and so on, and that will be the second part of the lineup tonight. But yesterday, I wanted to bring the Soroban update because it was nice and fresh. And, internet basically went out, and I was like, oh, crap. So my thing is this, all right? It wasn't the power, despite some of what you guys said yesterday. It was the internet, all right? And it does happen, like, I don't know, for some reason, like once every couple months or something. Hopefully won't happen anymore. But we're now going to get into the Soroban update, and I feel as though it's definitely worth sharing. Why is that? Well, stellar, right? So let's pull up some of the branding for a second. Please give me a follow over at DPG Maximus if you want to be a sideline reporter. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And let's see here. We have, I think, the right icon coming up. There it is. There it is. And that kind of helps you guys, whoever's watching the replay, for the markers and so on. All right. So here we go. It's this thing about this autocomplete. Now, I'm not going to get into the developer side of things where the video just shows the developer talking about technical stuff, but I will draw some significance and draw your attention to why you want to pay attention to this. So for one, it was reported, I think it was 2 days ago, my bad, straight from Soroban, right? And we know that when it comes to Soroban, this is a premier smart contract platform for Stellar. Like the analogy I made, if you've ever seen The Matrix Reloaded, it's like you have Neo trying to contact the keymaker, okay? And the keymaker has that master key. Soroban is like that master key that plugs a whole ecosystem, right? Like opening up the matrix, if you will. Anyway, so they got this thing and it says looking for ways to speed up your smart contract development time. Now you got to keep in mind, for us as retail traders, maybe that sounds kind of Greek, like, what's the big deal? The big deal is you want other developers to come from, for instance, like your Ethereums, who recognize, hey, it just takes too long with this darn Ethereum thing. If you can speed up any process of anything, especially development time, devs who built on other platforms will be attracted to your platform. We said the whole thing with Quant in regards to 3 lines of code, and we'll show you an example where that reference comes during the Quant segment. But for the purpose of Soroban, it's like, what is this thing? So basically it's like this, right? There's this video. I'm not going to replay. I watched it, but it's just all like nerd talk, tech stuff. And I thought, that's not really going to help you out. But I'll give you the gist. This guy is a senior developer advocate at the Stellar Development Foundation. His name is Julian Martinez. Of course, he walks through the whole thing of autocomplete. And in the demo, I'll just give you the quick gist of it. It literally shows everything there is coded the way they need it to be. It even has some code referencing WASM. And if you've taken more of a deep dive into WASM, you understand that's important. But the key thing here is Soroban use, like it says, use Soroban autocomplete. Right. Wow. Why is that worth pointing out? Well, again, let's jump into the next part. It is because of this. So earlier today, because it is now October the 18th, Mr. Tomer Weller here actually had a sit down. And I guess it was recorded. All right. It was not necessarily on video. Now, of course, we'll take you to the key findings. But he was interviewed, right, from CoinDesk, and we do share a lot of video interviews with various different projects who are featured on CoinDesk. But CoinDesk states Stellar's Soroban project, led by, of course, Tomer Weller. I know it's not Tomer, it's Tomer, is poised to bring Ethereum-style smart contracts to the 9-year-old blockchain and possibly a liquid XLM token by liquidity. Now, here's the thing, right? I would say for the most part, and again, I don't know the exact stats, but if I had to do a ballpark, I would say that at least 80% of all people that own Ripple's XRP also own Stellar. They kind of go hand in hand with each other and so on. But what's been pointed out in the past is that with XRP, you don't really have like smart contracts. But when you dive more into it, it's like, yeah, you actually do. You have enablers, right? You have, for instance, Flare basically is kind of like that solution for it. We also know that basically, like, we did that piece the other day, the deep dive in regards to R3. Okay, so R3 is another enabler in regards to like the financial side of the world. It's kind of like a financial operating system. If you saw the intro, I don't know if you guys watched that particular video today. So, but looking at it on the surface, when you compare Stellar Soroban with Ripple's XRP, that's, I guess you could say, kind of a complaint that gets brought up. So this unlocking 70 plus projects, I guess you could say flip of the switch, returning the key, and having just like a handful of them do well. Why so much fuss about that, right? Well, again, this whole thing of Ethereum style smart contracts, this is going to get into, and I'm going to show it to you here in a moment. It's going to talk about why this is a big deal. So if you were kind of like the person which you've been following, like Corey Bibe, or maybe like, I don't know if Ahmed follows it. I'm sure he does because he likes Stellar. This really, really breaks it down. All right. I'll just be honest. I'm not going to read all of it, but yeah, it really breaks it down in a good way. And it talks about early blockchain built for payments as in Stellar. smart contract functionality to take on Ethereum. And, for some people are just like, I've seen some of the comments, not necessarily you guys, right? But, some of the comments is, Stellar is never going to get over $1, or the most it can ever be is $10 and stuff like that. But to take on Ethereum, think about Ethereum itself. I mean, Ethereum is kind of like the McDonald's of smart contracts, right? I mean, Ethereum still has more smart contracts than any other platform. But when we talk about the industry disruptors, right? In this example, you have Stellar. It's like, this is game changer stuff. This whole notion of just not understanding the bigger picture, I think it's kind of ridiculous at this point. I mean, I consider a lot of these prices that we are at blessings in disguise, because I'm like, saying to myself, why would I want to invest in Stellar when it blows up to like $10 or more, right? I'm going to take advantage of it at roughly, where was that, right? Slightly under 10 cents, above a little bit, 10 cents. It's an absolute bargain. So the 9-year-old project, one of the earliest major blockchains, is getting a facelift to incorporate smart contracts. We talked about that. But the bottom line is this: to create potentially more demand for the XLM token. I mean, is that such a bad thing? Isn't that what it's all about? Getting more into this, there was this interview with Tomer Weller, and this whole thing of, in theory, could boost the XLM token, assuming the project gains traction. Again, guys, 70 plus confirmed projects guaranteed to go live at the end of this year in regards to Stellar Soroban. We're not going to, be naive to think that, oh yeah, all 70 of these are going to do really well. No, there's going to be ones that shine. There's going to be ones that, not a lot of movement, but all they need is just like maybe 2 or 3 or a handful of those 70 to be like the next, like I always mention, like the next Ajax, right? From, Cardano's ecosystem. But the key thing is a smart contract, like premier ecosystem built on Stellar, but from Soroban. Going into this, it talks about, these smart contracts like Ethereum, familiar name, but it talks about, for instance, the history behind it all. But this article does have this feature. And, this right here, I believe, comes from Tomer Weller. It says a smart contract project is where strings of programming code can be stored on blockchain similar to a computer, allowing devs to basically build applications for decentralized finance and other use cases. Of course, we know about Ethereum, right? And it says Ethereum, born a year after Stellar, is by far the dominant smart contract platform. But just because there's more of it doesn't mean it's good quality. And that's the bottom line, right? And it goes on to also talk about layer 2 networks, talks about Arbitrum, Polygon, Optimism. We'll get into the Optimism Jasmy coverage here in a bit. But this part here, it compares a lot of this. It says, there's a host of competing smart contract platforms: Solana, Aptos, Sui, Algo. We cover Algo quite a bit. And several projects, of course, in even, the Cosmos ecosystem. I think Cosmos is a great project too. Why would I not want to recognize that? I need to obviously get a bag of that. But Stellar, that's what we're talking about. Soroban, the blockchain's project to add smart contracts. Soroban's integration expected later this year, basically, I think the end of this year, because we're already in the fourth quarter, could mark one of the network's biggest upgrades since it was created in 2014. This is why I put so much focus on the coverage of Soroban, because I feel as though it's like, yeah, I mean, some people say, Max, you don't cover Stronghold enough. You don't cover, this other project from Stellar enough, or, you don't talk about the Lobster Wallet enough. Hey, I understand. I could take all that criticism. But for me, I recognize the whole thing of Soroban, right? And how it is, in my opinion, a big deal that not enough people talk about. Tomer Weller says, we see decentralized finance being a part of the future. We want to enable that for users of Stellar. Goes on to also mention some of these other things. But if the Soroban upgrade leads to substantial uptake by users, which I do believe it will. I mean, come on, 70 plus projects. That, of course, that's going to be uptake in users. It's just math at that point, right? Ultimately resulting in an increase in activity on the Stellar network, there could be theoretically a fresh source of demand for the project's native XLM tokens. So, I saw somebody, like in the comments, and nothing against people making comments. I mean, we thank people making comments. It helps the YouTube algorithm. But one of the guys posted, for instance, he was talking about MoneyGram, and he was basically saying, MoneyGram is more like USDC, and so on, doesn't really help Stellar. And then another guy was saying, for instance, Soroban doesn't really help XLM. And that's where, like, I can understand the debate of, USDC, but in reality, right, Soroban does complement XLM, and that is utility in motion because you enable more of an ecosystem with a few, even just 5 projects, like I mentioned. All we need is more of that utility in motion. Get mass adoption, and it's game changer, absolute game changer, because already as we speak, there's many other businesses that have built on ETH years ago, and they don't like the complaints of the gas fees. They don't like how slow it is. And they're looking for another solution that's going to be, for one, a lot easier for devs to build on. Again, very similar to like Quant, right? 3 lines of code. Like they don't even have to learn a new coding language. So for a lot of these, I hate to say kids, right? They have a bunch of, student loan debt and so on. They don't really want to get more and more debt. So building a platform like this is really attractive. And, the XLM price gained 46% this year, trailing Bitcoin's or BTC 66% rally, even Ethereum, even XRP, right? Last week, they want to, or was it, they want to recognize the whole thing of SDF, inked a deal with Sator, a security platform. We'll show you that here in a bit, to support new smart contract platforms. Sator provides developers with the means to verify their code. Again, very similar to what Quant is doing to a sense with smart audits, but smart verification in regards to verify code, right? Can't have bugs in the code. That's why you have test nets and stuff like that. All right, this part real quick. Talk about Ethereum's dominance. We already know about their dominance, but I'm going to point out a few key things here. So Stellar, I would agree with the statement, faces long odds on seeding Ethereum. But what if they could make a real true dent in that? It's not that you're unseating Ethereum in regards to smart contracts, right? Kind of like in the real world, McDonald's, is there any, burger joint that's really unseating McDonald's as far as like, creating more McDonald's? Is Burger King really going to have more locations than McDonald's? Probably not. I mean, they're up there, right? But it's the disruptors of just that. I look at Ethereum being like the McDonald's of smart contracts, McDonald's of crypto. Stellar could put a dent in it at all. I guess I'll use this analogy. Whether you like this burger joint or not, here in towards the West Coast, I mean, Arizona's not right on the West Coast, obviously, but here in Arizona, Nevada, California, and even, I guess, parts of Oregon, you have In-N-Out Burger. What stands out about In-N-Out Burger? In-N-Out Burger is it's quality over quantity, right? Does that make a real dent towards the likes of McDonald's and so on? Well, it may not appear that way on a national scale, but in reality, they are. If you want to In-N-Out Burger, oh my gosh, like big lines, but it's efficient. Even though there's a huge line, you get your little sandwich or whatever real quick. But what about this whole thing of blockchain and DLT? It is a difference of quality over quantity. So it gets into this thing about, Stellar facing these crazy odds, right, going up against Ethereum. And they're not the only ones. I've seen people obviously say XDC is the real Ethereum killer. I think a lot of these are real Ethereum killers. But it goes on to talk about, whose market value of about 109 billion is about 65 times larger than his own. Even if Stellar was to break into 25% of that, don't you really think that Stellar's going to sit around at 10 cents? I'm just saying. Stellar's 30 full-time developers compare with 1901 for Ethereum, according to Electric Capital's report. Decentralized finance protocols built on Ethereum have combined both deposits, total value locked, 20 billion, according to DeFi Llama. And look at this. The equivalent figure for Stellar is 18.5 million. But we are talking about smart contracts, and it says even for existing chains with smart contracts, it's proven difficult to attract good projects. So it would be very surprising if they managed to seriously challenge Ethereum. I would disagree with this statement because currently, as we speak, we've already seen examples in interviews from the Stellar Development Foundation where you have devs who literally have jumped ship from Ethereum-based projects to come build over here on Stellar. Why are they doing that? Well, they don't like the idea of, again, the slow network. But on top of that, they want to attract other devs. As the saying goes, like, if you're partnered up with, or you have many other people, they're going to help you build Rome. I hate to use that example, or, build a movie or make a movie, you're going to get a lot done more quicker compared to 3 or 4 guys working on a movie. Hence why you see so many people in movie credits. But this thing right here about this Sean Farrell, he's a crypto analyst for Fundstrat, said that developers and users generally prioritize either security or speed, and that those who value security tend to gravitate, of course, towards Ethereum or its layer 2s, while those focus on speed usually opt for Solana. Here's the missing part. If you look more into Soroban, we do know that they're testing like crazy the security aspects of things, even creating mechanisms in which, in regards to like KYC, to get full validation of like, well, is this going to go to some kind of malicious actor and so on. Again, we could talk about quant with smart audits. Even Soroban has some of these features built in, which is game changer in regards to Stellar. Stellar's got this recent entry course into the smart contracts. It creates stiff competition from a wide array of different, chains, right? You have your Cosmos and so on. But there's, of course, a big, long piece about this. I'm not going to get into everything about it. But I will point out this. In a conversation with Denell Dixon, I think we highlighted it. She explores how blockchains can empower people to unlock potential. And of course, Mr. Idris Elbro, the actor, even chimed in about it. But the bottom line is, Soroban may have, a true star of the conference, as in Meridian, and that's coming on, with more than 22 sessions devoted to the topic, right? Devoted to the topic. But again, you got to keep in mind that topic. Where did Stellar get the name Soroban? Why is it such a big deal? I don't think it's so much of a matter of like that, that definition of this thing that, goes back to Japan. All I'm trying to say is this thing of WASM built into the code. We've been studying that for a while. But look at this. The decision to use Rust as a primary program language with WebAssembly, known as WASM, as the instruction format, that instead of Solidity, the language used to run Ethereum virtual machine, which is the foundation for running smart contracts on the Ethereum, Avalanche, Cello, and Phantom blockchains, and many other networks. WASM is a choice for Cosmos. So here's the thing. Cosmos is very impressive. Polkadot, Layer 0, very impressive. I even talk about Near from Investor Place, all impressive. This guy, Tomer Weller, said that WASM has the key technical advantages that make it better choice, that separate it from, for instance, Ethereum. Rust is the most common programming language for writing programs for Solana. So to have some of these things are incorporated, like let's say, for instance, you have somebody comes over from, from Solana, and they don't like the idea that their network has gone down a few times. And they do want to jump ship to something that's going to cost a lot less and want to build on Soroban. Or maybe they still want to stick with Solana, but they also want to build on Soroban. The key thing is attracting more people by having a common programming language where more people don't have to learn new things. It's a game changer. Now, I'm going to stop elaborating on that. I'm going to jump over to this because I want to get more into this thing. All right, so hold on a second. Let me pull this up. Goes on to mention this right here. Yeah, sorry about that. This bottom part. In regards to Stellar. So it says, Stellar allows some data to expire, arguing that it's learned lessons from watching Ethereum's experience with state bloat. So you put things in, you store it on chain, and then at some point that data can have an expiration date. But the cool thing is they send a notification to some of these projects and let them know, hey, your data that's being stored on chain is about to expire. You need to renew it. Again, that's a little bit more of that utility in motion. Back to what Will Fix was talking about. He was mentioning leasing. That's a concept of like leasing data. that being activated over and over, whether it's every 90 days or yearly on an annual contract, that's still a big deal, right? Tomer Weller described this whole phenomenon as second mover advantage, since Ethereum would have a hard time retroactively going back and announcing that data might expire. And even if Ethereum, would say, hey, we have data that's going to expire and so on, think about this for a second. Why would Ethereum want to get in, open up that can of worms? If they did do that, the similar model of, what Stellar's doing, again, the gas fees, they're going to lose so many, I guess some people say, well, Max, this is where Ethereum kind of shines, even though it's outdated technology, because it forces people to stay on Ethereum because of those gas fees. True. But wouldn't you like to have more utility in motion, where it's like, you have devs like, hey, no problem. Yeah, I have to, pay a fee, but the fee is significantly like 90% or more cheaper than using Ethereum gas fees. You don't think more people are going to come into like this ecosystem? I think they will. All right, so back to this whole thing of Soroban real quick. I know it's a lot, but again, it's a big update. So on September 20th, Tomer Weller talked about Soroban going, of course, live on testnet. We covered that. He said that basically the team is pushing to launch the mainnet, right? That's coming out later this year. I really think they're going to have it done by the end of the year. Everything supports that. There's never been anything that said, hey, this is going to get delayed. But if this is successful, the launch would represent the culmination of nearly 2 years of development work since the plan to bring smart contracts to Stellar was announced, of course, early 2022. And my thing also is the timing of this. Bitcoin halving coming up in April, the spot ETFs. What about Stellar being partnered with Franklin Templeton? And Franklin Templeton basically has, a Bitcoin spot ETF and so on. So again, I'm looking at it from the perspective of like when some people say when moon, I don't necessarily think that we get necessarily. I gotta stop saying necessarily. Get the whole thing of, like generational wealth within a few months. I'm not saying that, but this notion that Stellar is just going to stay around 10 cents by the end of the year, that part I don't see. Soroban itself will cause Stellar to have price shock. As far as, tripling the price, I don't know what that would be, but there's no way staying at like 10 cents. I just don't really see that. Now, is it possible that mainnet comes and you still don't have any projects that have a lot of utility motion? I guess yes, but I think it's enough to move it at least up a little bit. But it is the key pathway forward for more of that adoption. Of course, Tomer Weller says we're aiming for release by the end of the year. Again, they don't say anything about Q1 of next year, and they're conservative about that. So that's the update, and it's the progress of this and in attracting other devs. That's your key takeaway in regards to Soroban. I know that might have seemed like a lot of, I don't know, trying to jam it all into one thing, but I do think it's a big deal, and I did want to bring it to you guys. All right, going down more into this, we have, what was it real quick? Yeah, here we go. It's just real quick. 14 hours ago. It's just a little bit more Stellar, not necessarily Soroban. Stellar illuminating the future tokenization. We talked about tokenization a lot. Goes on to mention this part. Meridian 2023, there's this thing called Cheesecake Labs. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, no pun intended. They add another feather to Stellar's cap, and basically what it talks about here is the enhanced Stellar's asset sandbox to serve as a cornerstone for institutions eager to delve into the world of asset tokenization on the Stellar network. The no-code required feature of the sandbox not only lowers the entry barrier for businesses, but also offers them a robust testnet environment. They can create, they can issue, manage, you name it, hinting at Stellar's vision for widespread asset digitalization and its readiness to offer necessary tools for infrastructure. So even from this point of view, right, we talked about RWAs, real world assets, tokenization, creating issuance. I'm telling you, Stellar's killing it with a lot of the recent developments, but of course we can't cover Stellar every day because they don't necessarily have updates every day. So I wanted to bring that to you guys yesterday. I know it was quite a bit to talk about. We're going to get back into the comments for a bit, see if you have any specific questions. Up next on the lineup, it will be the long-awaited coverage in regards to Jasmy and Layer 2, Optimism. What is that all about? Well, a little bit of polka dot too. All right. So what we're going to do now is take off that banner. We're going to kick it back in the comments. Lots of comments. Really appreciate it, guys. We got 51 people here tonight. Not too bad. 39 watching on Maximus Crypto. 36 likes. Please smash the like. And then over on Will Fix's station, we have 13 watching. We do appreciate you guys tuning in from over there as well. All right. So let's see what we have in the comments. Any questions or comments? I do see X marks the spot is here. Thank you so much for being here. The one and only. Thank you. All right. Thank you guys for showing up and being here tonight. Just trying to catch up on some of the markers of where we're at. Not try to skip over a bunch of things. With 150 comments, though, it's going to take just a bit to get back up. All right. So Lawrence Williams says patience and consistency. XLM, XRP. That's a good point. Thank you for pointing that out. And thank you for being here, guys. Give Lawrence Williams, like I mentioned before, a nice, warm welcome. Corey Bebe states November is a big month for ISO 222. Yeah, we might see a little bit of movement, but I don't want people to think it's like, yeah, this is where the generational wealth comes from. We'll see movement. I mean, there's a beginning to a bull market. There's obviously all-time highs. I'm more of the guy that wants to focus on all-time highs. I want to see my portfolio go parabolic, but I do agree that it might be the start of some things. Yeah, I'll have to check in on him, see what's going on with Mr. Brian Riley and also Brian Dow. The Bryans, the two Bryans. Huh. Miss those guys. All right. Ricky Tiffy, man. I haven't seen you in a long time. I haven't. I always remember joking around saying, Ricky Tiffy, man. Well, welcome. Good to see you, Ricky Tiffy. All right. I did read that one from G Ride. Thank you so much. Yep. What up, y'all? What up? What up? What up? And let's see here. All right. Let's see. Michael Edwards, welcome back. Hello to the community. Thank you so much for being here. Tyler Kritz, welcome. Thank you for being here. I think you might come from the other channel. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I see on the other page, Bobby Loretti, Max, good to see you. Good to see you too, man. Appreciate you being here. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Nathan Stevens or Stevens. Let's know, is it Stevens or Steffens? I want to get it right. He's here late, listening from the beginning. I hope everyone's well. Well, again, appreciate it. I do remember you from before. I just can't remember if I mispronounced your last name. We got Stump Rider. I meant to thank you the other day for becoming I think it was you that became a new member, if I'm not mistaken, or renewed it. But glad to have you here. James Brazil, I'm here listening. Just had a red light. Oh boy. Okay, you posted that you typed that in from a red light. You had the Lego edition of Lieutenant Dan Taylor. Is that really a thing? Huh. Forrest Gump, it says. That's funny. All right. Well, anyway, let me go further down. I think we had some super chats that came through. I do need to recognize them. Let's see here. I want to welcome April Cornwell first. She says, hey. At some point, she said that. I also want to welcome Crypto Info, Dyor. Thank you for being here. And guys, give him a follow. He's apparently one of the first, maybe if not the first, crypto content, do your own research type focused channel in the metaverse. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds good, right? Whether it's true or not, give him a follow, right? He's very passionate about crypto. Crypto Info, Dyor. Thank you for being here. All right. T. Milton, Terrell, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Appreciate all your hard work and research, brother. Well, thanks. Doesn't mean a lot. I do try, but it gets pretty time consuming. That's okay. I'm the one signed up for this, right? I'm not going to complain. Danelle Dixon is greater than Brad. All right. Let's see here. Let's read this from Elon Musk. This is the moment you all have been waiting for. ISO 222, folks, soon enough. Thank you. Let me double check the other screen, make sure I didn't forget anything. I didn't. That's good. I'll give you a little heart right here, Mr. Terrell Milton. And Crypto Info, DYOR, has a question. He says, hey, Max, I have a cold storage question. Can you use two different ledgers on the same computer? I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. I mean, the way I kind of look at like some ledgers is basically it's kind of like a flash drive to a sense, you know. I never seen anybody do that, but I'm sure you could. I don't see why you couldn't. I don't know. Maybe that doesn't directly answer it for sure. I just never tested that. I only done with one. So, but I don't see why that would be so much of an issue, you know. All right, let's read this from Paul Smith. Welcome. Glad to have you here, by the way. Welcome to Paul Smith. I keep hearing Black Swan, Black Swan, Black Swan. We have to have a Black Swan to implement the new system. They're always going to talk about that, man. There's going to be Black Swans. If you think about it in regards to a bull market, it can happen, you know, typically more in a bear market. But I think they do pop up from time to time in either one. Some people are going to say, yeah, it has to happen, like a dollar crash. And we got some news in regards to that from Mike Cornwell about dollar collapse and stuff and whatnot. We do reference that. All right, so let's read a couple more comments. X marks the spot is in the house. And I apologize if I all of a sudden like skipped a bunch of comments. I went down to the super chat and then a whole flood of comments came up. And then like you got to keep it's like a rolling, it's kind of like tape. To a sense, like, you know, they say roll tape and you try to go back to those old ones. It's like, oh no, you know, so sorry about that. All right, so we're caught up. Let's get into maybe the moment you all been waiting for. Is Max finally going to talk a little bit more about layer 2, this whole thing of Jasmy layer 2? All right, so the answer is yes, and I want to thank Icy Amphibian for some of this coverage. He didn't have to send me a direct message, but maybe he feels as though that I cover a lot of this a lot, right? When it comes to Jasmy, and I would agree with him. And maybe he also likes the idea that I do video breakdowns and all that stuff. So, yeah. So let's see here. Icy Amphibian has some things to share. Let's jump into it. Actually, let's first pull up the branding just in case people are watching the replay. And they're like, well, where's the marker, Max? Well, there it is. Right there. All right. So, yeah, let's pull this up. All right. So, Icy Amphibian, if you want to know some of his background, just in case you're a guy that doesn't, you know, go on Crypto X, right? Twitter, wherever you want to call it. I still call it Twitter. He is a person who, for one, is, like he says, he's a Jasmy maxi. He is a DLT researcher. Fluffy Fluff and the Banana Hammocks needs to get with him because he's collector of Fluff World. So you guys can fluff each other to death in this area. I'm kidding, but I thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, he's a party bear. I don't know. Anyway, a licensed engineer, art collector, humanist. I could have sworn Icy Amphibian was a Jasmy ambassador. And Icy, if you're reviewing this later on, I just want to state to you that, in my opinion, you know, you deserve that. Maybe you're part of the OG club. I think that's where I saw. I think he's like part of the. He's got OG badge like myself. That doesn't mean that we're ambassadors, right? It just means that we're recognized. One of those things, right? Not everybody could be an ambassador, and that's okay. If I get it someday, awesome. If I don't, I'm not going to be all butthurt about it, right? I will still cover Jasmy, whether I get that title or not. Here's the thing. He wants us to put some focus and attention on this layer 2, and why not? Some of you guys have been stating this, and, you know, what was it? Ronbo, right? Ronbo, I know that you send me a lot of questions sometimes. Most of it, you know, are legitimate questions, and you're asking about the migration. Well, let's talk about the technical side of this. So a lot of people are having like a hard time, like it says, grasping why Jasmy Management is building their layer 2 chain on Optimism. Now, you got to keep in mind, for some people that don't understand this terminology, they're like, building on Optimism? Like, Max, I thought that we're building, you know, a layer 2 scaling solution on Ethereum. You got to keep in mind, what is Optimism? It is a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum. Okay, so if you're a newcomer, some of this stuff can kind of seem somewhat, confusing, and I can't blame you. Okay, so we're gonna get into that. You got to keep in mind, they're going to have their issuance of NFTs on the Bifrost network. We understand that Bifrost is a real big thing for Jasmy to reach mass adoption. I think that is probably the thing that stands out the most lately when it comes to Jasmy. Here are two great videos about Optimism and even Polkadot, and we're going to break this down. Now, we're not going to play the whole video, because if we did, we'd be here like for 5 hours. We're not going to do that. We're going to start off with Optimism. And he is right. I see Amphibian is right 100% on this one, and that is to fully understand Jasmy, which a lot of you guys do want to fully understand. I've seen you guys watch the videos. I really appreciate the community that we have here. But a lot of people want to learn more of, like, I don't understand why these two, right? Fair question. So let's get familiar with this. So Optimism goes super chain. Ever notice when it comes to Hara explaining Jasmy, right? He talks about the super wallet. So think about super wallet connects to what? Super chain. I love the wording on this. Then we'll get into the part about Polkadot as a Web3 cloud. Now, if you guys saw not today's video on Jasmy, but the one before that talks about Jasmy and the cloud solutions. We even did comparisons to Flux, and Flux, I believe, is also a great project. Shout out to Tim Shea, right? Boom. But the key thing is understanding all, how all this is going to work. So we'll even get more into that Polkadot example here in a bit. All right, so let's pull this up. And in the process of doing so, I'm actually going to give you a couple notes real quick. All right. So on this one, I might as well just go ahead and show the screen. If you're wondering about Optimism, right, this is a simple Google search. I mean, it's not that hard. But look what it says here. Optimism is a bit slower, clocking in around 2,000 TPS, but keep in mind, a heck of a lot faster than a layer 1 Ethereum, right? This dinosaur tech. Using tailored approach called Optimism rollups. And remember, in the AMA, we talked about layer 2 rollups. So this is kind of making sense. And it's designed to increase the transactions per second. That's what TPS is on the Ethereum blockchain. So I don't want people to confuse the two. Like, some people are like, Ethereum layer 2, I don't get it. Like, where some people are like, Ethereum layer 2, oh, okay, Polygon, right? Well, this isn't Polygon, and maybe in the future, Jasmy can do like, a contract with Polygon. I would imagine that's going to cost, a bit of money. But you do like the idea about scalability. At least I do. Some people don't. I mean, I just can't believe that they don't. They look at Jasmy like, no, they should have stayed in V1. Migrations are always bad. Hey, difference of opinion. I can respect opinions, but my thing is this show is called DYOR, right? Do your own research. And if we did our proper research, you would know that in the white paper, what's it say? That this was eventually going to happen. So I'm like, they are keeping, as in Jasmy, sticking to their promise of scalability. Is that such a bad thing? I mean, like I've always mentioned, I have to have the same user experience as Cool Cat Crypto, or, X Marks the Spot, or Tim Shea, or, Crypto Info, DYOR, or anybody from our community. Will Fix, right? Because if we don't have, scalability, we're going to have oh crap moments where we have redundancy issues, and it's just going to be a mess. You want to talk about a project being volatile? That would create volatility, extreme volatility. And you don't want that, especially when it comes to Jasmy, because then you would definitely have the FUDders come out of the woodwork, and they would have that fuel that they need. They would finally have something that would fuel their FUD, campaign, other than looking at a chart. So, yes, Optimism rollups use a layer 2 scaling solution that allows multiple transactions to be bundled together and processed in a single block. I use some of this example even with Filecoin, talking about, things that happen in a single block, and, large packets of data. Okay. Give you another example. How fast are Optimism transactions? Great question. All right. I'd be asking the same thing if I was you. So Optimism is a blockchain scaling solution, offers high-speed layer 2 scaling options, of course, for Ethereum. Right. This is all on par with what Jasmy is trying to do. Ethereum's capacity to support thousands of transactions per second while doing just that, reducing gas fees. Reducing gas fees. You know how many times we saw in the past where people would be like just fudding Jasmy? Oh, it's just another ERC20 token. I don't want nothing to do with that. Why? Because of the gas fees. And then we saw even at the time, even with their layer 1, there was another scaling solution. Remember in the past, it was actually centrality, right? And I think centrality was, I believe, 1,000 TPS. So even that scaling solution was so much better in the past than just having Ethereum, right? Just regular plain old Ethereum. So at least Jasmy was always trying to scale. And my point is, even when we made that example of what about way into the future, quant with interoperability, yes, say what you want. That could really be a thing. That's not necessarily nothing burger. It takes money to get some of these things that we want together. So the way I look at it is centrality, right? That was scalability. Now we're entering into this whole thing of optimism, but we're scaling up even more. Jasmy is all about scaling, and that is a good thing. You want to see that from your project, despite all the FUD that's out there. Stay on course. Like Luke Skywalker, stay on course, right? But he had to listen to the Force. That's a bad example. I don't know. Anyway, getting more into this. Let's share this with you. Okay. So that's in regards to optimism. We're going to play this. And if you're wondering why show this, Max? Well, the reason why I'm going to show this is going to talk specifically about the super chain. Now, on this particular segment, I might play, 7 to 10 minutes, give or take. And then after that, I'm going to jump to this other part, which talks about, where's this part real quick? Not the part about Cosmos. I mean, if you're in the Cosmos, you already know about that. But where is it? I think I skipped it. Sorry about that. Cross chain. Okay, yeah, that's it. So we're going to talk about the super chain and a little bit about this cross chain messaging. And then, there it is. My bad. So it's literally 3 parts. So a little bit of like maybe 5-7 minutes on this part. We're going to get into the role of general purpose chains, and then of course communication hubs. So I don't know, it's about roughly 3. So let's go ahead and play this. Let's give you a broader perspective of why this is a big deal, and it's Optimism super chain versus Cosmos. And this is not me saying that, hey, this is better than Cosmos. No, but it gives you an idea of why this is a big deal. I think it is a big deal, and you guys want to understand this a little bit better. And I think Icy Amphibian recognizes that, so shout out to him. And give him a follow, too, on Crypto Twitter. All right, let's go ahead and play this. Here we go.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Bell Curve. For this one, you've got Mike and Miles.
I wish I could turn this up a little bit more, but that's the highest it goes. Oh, it's me. My bad. Well, shoot. I guess it's turned up enough. My bad. All right, here we go. It is turned up enough. Later on, I'll chop that part out. Anyway.
Miles, we're doing a little solo episode, just the 2 of us here.
Love it. And, I think the week's news makes it very appropriate.
We've taken a little, we've readjusted our plans for the last 2 episodes of the season. It's like that old saying, right? If you want to make God laugh, just tell him your plans. And this week we had there was a big announcement, right? Everyone's very focused on Base, which is the new layer 2 that Coinbase launched. From the beginning of the season, you and I have been very interested in kind of this idea that both Ethereum and Cosmos are kind of on a collision course, right? And that ultimately they're trying to solve the same problem, just from 2 very different starting points. So, in addition to the Base announcement this week from Coinbase that's being built kind of on a version of the OP stack, there's also a kind of a rebrand that Optimism has done. So they're now talking about this thing called the super chain, right? That's what they're calling it. I think from our standpoint, it kind of looks like this idea we've been really curious about, which is this app chain or app space thesis playing out on on Ethereum. And we actually created some slides here for all of you to kind of visually walk you all through this. So I'm going to try to share my screen, but do you want to kind of explain, Miles, while I'm struggling with technology, like what is this idea of the super chain here? Like why has Ethereum or has Optimism kind of rebranded to this?
Yeah, I think, as we've talked about this collision course idea before, which is that, Ethereum and Cosmos are both building towards a future with app specific block space. And I think the super chain is a version of really what the Cosmos thesis is also trying to achieve, but sharing a common security layer in Ethereum, L1, right? And so this is, somewhat of an admission or really embracing the idea that there are going to be, thousands of app specific block space, or app specific chains. And I think a big part of this rebrand is calling them chains now instead of rollups, and but doing so in a secure, Ethereum first way. So yeah, I mean, if we just look at the language here, right? So we have Superchain is a horizontally scalable network of chains that share security, a communication layer, and an open source development stack.
Mm.
2 out of the 3 of those things sound exactly like the Cosmos thesis, basically. You have the Cosmos SDK is an open source development stack that allows a lot of these chains to interact more frictionlessly together because they share certain standards. A communication layer that sounds very similar to a communication standard that IBC provides. The communication layer could also refer to really the original thesis of the Cosmos Hub, which was to be really a messaging hub, so that each chain doesn't need to maintain point-to-point connections. So you could see, the Optimism bridge serving as, somewhat of either like a communication standard or a communication hub between all of these, app-specific OP chains. And then, yeah, the only big difference here is that the OP chains are secured at the end of the day by Ethereum. There's one final source of truth that all the OP chains share, which is the what is actually posted to Ethereum L1. And that's the big difference here, right? Is that in the Cosmos version of this thesis, every chain has its own final source of truth. And you rely on kind of, I guess, the credibility of each chain, to believe that final source of truth, which enables IBC, right, to work. And so I think, there's a lot of parallels to draw here. I think it's really worth paying attention to the language that they're using, because it is a big change, I think. And, I don't think Base itself, we can get into it later, represents, the app chain thesis playing out, because Base is still a general purpose, L2. But we're starting to see, the broader vision here, which is, thousands of these like app specific chains that, are sharing the same stack, share the same communication standards, and interact with each other. So I see a lot of parallels here.
I think it's kind of, you've historically seen sort of example of this as well. And this is not meant in a derogatory way at all to Ethereum, but definitely elements of sort of some of the focus and new ideas that get birthed in kind of the Cosmos ecosystem have kind of found their way into the Ethereum roadmap here. And I'm not sure this represents total sea change, but again, a lot. It's really hard to ignore this language here that even is being used right on the Optimism website to basically indicate what this is.
I would point out one more thing if you go back to that last slide, just in terms of ideas from Cosmos being ported over. So the new revenue model that rewards application developers for the fees that their chains generate. I could be wrong, but I believe I saw that was taken from Canto, which is a new, fairly recently launched chain in Cosmos that is, basically intends to reward developers for use of their smart contracts by paying them a portion of the gas fees that are used, that leverage the contracts they develop. Yeah, so you have, the broader vision, I think, is kind of being ported over here. The broader, like the main tools that make this possible are being recreated, not ported over. And then some of the more nuanced pieces, like this revenue model for protocol developers, you can see that's getting mapped over as well.
Here's the thing about, you got to hand it to them. Look at this branding, and look at that word, the super chain. What a powerful meme that is. This is one of the things that I think, what I would kind of call, and this is, kind of, I think your sort of framework for looking at it, just give credit where credit is due, but it's kind of like that core Ethereum kind of group, right? There's ETH as a brand, and that's very closely aligned probably on the DEX side with Uniswap, and on the L2 side with Optimism. They really do get, how to disperse a compelling message and a good meme. You're going to see probably a bunch of memes about the super chain, where really the Cosmos version of this is the internet of blockchains. But I want to get into some of the more specifics here. And again, I apologize if you're not looking at video, but just to kind of describe what we're looking at here. These are a couple of diagrams, basically, of a high level version of the Optimism sort of model, right? And what you're seeing is a big blue purple bar on the top, Ethereum. Then there's a connector, smaller bar, Optimism bridge, and then you have a bunch of vertical kind of OP chains, OP chain 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And then on the right, you kind of have the Cosmos version of things, which on the bottom you've got one block, which is networking consensus. That's kind of Tendermint. There's communication rails, which is ABCI, and then there's an application layer, which is the Cosmos SDK, and a smart contracting layer, the Cosmosm. Miles, can you kind of last thing actually on the Ethereum or the Optimism diagram is this cross-chain messaging protocol. So Miles, maybe could you help kind of connect this diagram on the left? Where does Base kind of fall there? Where does Optimism mainnet fall? And just kind of give us an overview here of what we've got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is still very early. We still haven't seen what this looks like, so that we could be wrong here. But essentially, I'd see, to answer that question around where is Optimism mainnet and where is Base, I think that those are, OP chain 1 and OP chain 2. And I think they are just sort of laying the foundations for what can be built on top that enables this, broader vision to play out. I think that they, basically serve as an onboarding tool through Coinbase, and eventually, I think, Optimism mainnet will transition to more of a communication hub, similar to Atom. But just to give like maybe a higher level overview of what the similarities are here, is you're giving developers a set of out-of-the-box tools that enable them to build their own blockchains securely and interoperable with each other. So with the Cosmos stack, you have Tendermint, which gives you networking and consensus engine right out of the box. So you have the tools, but you still need to go obviously recruit your own validator set to run this software.
Just gonna pause there to reflect on what he basically mentioned. So if you guys been if you've seen the coverage that we've been talking about for a while, does Jasmy have a sense of interoperability? I did the whole thing with Q&T a while back, but this is yet another example of interoperability, literally like what he just mentioned. So for one, interoperability, scalability, those are one of the two key things that you should take away from that. Now we're going to play a little bit more in regards to this. I think we might play the next 5 or 6 minutes of this because this is good stuff. And then we'll get into the two or three other key parts, because we're not going to play this whole thing because it's over an hour. But, it is giving you a broader sense of what this is all about. I saw in the comments, I see Amphibian is here. Awesome. Guys, I see Amphibian is the one who sent me a lot of this information to highlight tonight. So we are absolutely honored to have the one and only Icy Amphibian here Thank you so much for all of your research. Thank you so much for everything you're doing for the Jasmy community, keeping people informed. Really appreciate you. All right, we're going to kick it back to this outline. Here we go.
And the security of your networking and consensus layer is based off of your own token, right? And so that maps over basically to Ethereum L1 to some extent. So that's not really part of the OP stack, but the OP stack does have sequencers which do play a similar role to validators, in terms of ordering transactions and sending them to Ethereum L1. And so you get those out of the box. You could still have to either run that sequencer yourself or recruit a network of sequencers to run a multi-sequencer network, or you could potentially rent security from a shared sequencer network, which I think we can get into later. And then on top, you need a set of modules, a set of tools that basically, every single developer who wants to build their own OP chain or their own Cosmos chain, they're not reinventing the wheel. They've got, the core capabilities right out of the box that they can plug in. But you want to make them modular enough so that they can plug and play, different configurations. They can take whatever the out of the box version is and, customize it more for their use case. And so, the goal here is basically to, with both stacks, is to reduce the amount of time as much as possible from, start of development to launch. And then once they are, launched, give them, a set of tools that allow these chains to communicate with each other. Because that to me is the big missing piece here. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I think we were talking about this all season long, but they're really, Ethereum and Cosmos are building towards the same shared vision, but have very different starting places. And so, I view the OP stack as Ethereum now, trying to build their own Cosmos SDK, right? And instead of, this is for allowing, lots of L1s to use this same stack. These were all going to be L2 chains, or rollups, as we used to call them. And then on the Cosmos side, they basically really focused on the interoperability, the IBCPs. They've built out, the Cosmos SDK has tons and tons of modules, which, the more people who use it, the more, app chain developers that adopt it, they start contributing themselves. And so there's lots of network effects there. And yeah, but at the end of the day, these stacks are basically just to get to, enable developers to get to from 0 to 1 as fast as possible. And they both are, they both achieve that in different ways.
So we're going to get into some more details of, sort of what is in that stack, and kind of compare the OP stack versus the Cosmos SDK. But before we do, I think one other highlight that's just worth flagging and mentioning is, you and I have kind of laid out this blanking on the word for but this spectrum, right? Where you've got kind of a full stack app chain like Osmosis all the way over here on the left. And then kind of like a roll app layer 3 on the right here on Ethereum. And then there's something like kind of Celestia in the middle, which is a more modular approach. What we're talking about here is kind of laying the base. These are all just, to be totally clear, generalized block space layer 2s, right? So this isn't necessarily that layer 3 yet. Although we'll get to a slide later on where they're specifically saying that that's a problem that they're trying to solve for. I think another, just something to highlight, the approach that Optimism has taken that's a little bit different from some of the other folks that we've spoken to, such as Sovereign Labs certainly, but also Celestia, is they're highly aligned with Ethereum, right? There's it's all over their language. It seems like from a developer standpoint, they're really trying to make it as easy as possible for Ethereum developers to build on Optimism as well. Whereas especially the Sovereign Labs has taken the approach where it doesn't really matter sort of the base L1 that we plug into. We're kind of a one size fits all. It's just a very different kind of strategy for scaling this part of the stack.
It plays into the BD side as well,
right?
Because I think the goal of this rebrand is when you think of Ethereum scaling, you think of optimism. When you think of, the future of, basically a multi-chain world, you're thinking of the Optimism stack. And you're thinking of all of these chains, that share all the same qualities because they're using the stack. And, I think Optimism has done this really well. Uniswap does it really well, in terms of aligning themselves. So when you think of Ethereum, you also think of them. That's very different from Sovereign Labs and very different from the Cosmos approach, which is really bottoms up and focusing on, it's called Sovereign Labs for a reason, right? It's focusing on sovereignty,
Right.
and embracing that. So yeah, I think that's an interesting point there.
Yeah. And I think the trade-offs, if I was sitting in the seat of, Preston, who we spoke to last week, or maybe Ben, right, who's the leader at, or one of the co-founders at Optimism, is, on the Ethereum side of things, you plug into distribution, right? You have access to, or first of all, you kind of have inherit the shared security of Ethereum. So it's not something you have to worry about, but it's also, you kind of plug into this sea of users. But the challenge, right, is obviously if Ethereum were to slow, or, adoption doesn't go along the path that they wanted, or there's some kind of technical reason why the chain was less feasible than we think it's going to be today, then they're limited, right? Sort of they've kind of tied their fate to Ethereum's, whereas the approaches of, let's say, a Sovereign Labs, you are not limited, right, to the success of the layer one, but also you do kind of lack that pipeline and funnel into to users, right? And it's just we'll see how each of those two things trade off, but that's the way that I would be thinking about kind of the trade-off. And
all right, so we're gonna get into the next part of this real quick, because that it really kind of, stop saying kind of, it wraps up the whole thing in regards to the super chain. So again, super wallet, super chain, see how they connect, right? I mean, it is a great example. Thanks to IC Amphibian for, taking the time to bring us this info. I mean, I could have done some searching around too, but hey, who doesn't like some shortcuts to just, having somebody that you can team up with and get you that info? So shout out to him. Glad to have him here tonight. On top of that, let's jump into this next part of what we have. So that was a great breakdown. Gave you some, both these guys gave you the examples of not just, Optimism, even threw in some Cosmos into the whole mix. Gives you an idea how this all works, right? The smart contract, layer, even with the Cosmos, through WASM, on some of that. You have obviously that Optimism bridge with Ethereum. Layer twos are just a glorified roll up, right? It's basically what we call it nowadays. All right, getting more into this. This part where it says cross-chain messaging and shared sequences. On this one, let's see for a second. I think it's not too long, maybe 5 minutes. We'll play this, and then let's see here. There's some real beneficial info if you want to nerd it out about the role of general purpose chains. You can nerd it out more if you choose to do so. But I'm going to jump from here to this next part. So we're just going to roll it in about 5 minutes. And then after that, we're going to jump over to, this part where it says communication hubs and value accrual. And that's about it after that. After we get into this part, we'll get into the whole thing about Polkadot and layers, that layer 0 and understanding, even going back to this, for instance. I'll show you an example here in a bit. Where is it? Here. So 2 days ago, I did the video on Jasmy blockchain is enhancing cloud computing security, right? Apex and Neutrix Cloud, why it matters. So if this is like kind of Greek to you, or maybe it's not, you just want to learn a little bit more about what you have and why you hold it, as the saying goes, take a look at that video. I know I've done some deep dives that are like, over an hour and stuff like that. That one's not too bad. I mean, you got to keep in mind for the size of my videos, that's not too bad. If you're watching a 21-minute, Maximus Crypto Jasmy video, you're not really complaining too much about it being too long, right? For other content creators, that's too long. You're going to want to watch that video at some point, because if you watch tonight, which are obviously some of you guys are, in regards to Polkadot and layer 0, or that layer 0, this gives you an idea of how Jasmy and cloud computing and everything they're trying to do in that realm will give you a broader idea of how it all comes together. Okay, that's why I'm highlighting that. That's from 2 days ago. You owe it to yourself to watch that from an educational point of view. All right, going to jump back into this outline. Let me see if I'm on the right tab. No, I'm not. Let me jump back. All right, we're on this one. So yeah, this is roughly 5 or 6 minutes, and this is good stuff. Here we go.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to get your thoughts on that, but also before we go to the next slide, I do want to get your thoughts on this kind of cross-chain messaging, which, could be kind of one of two things. There actually was, this is the much less likely, but there was a paper that the Ethereum Foundation published back in September or October of this year, which was, what would IBC on Ethereum look like? So that's certainly the messaging solution in the Cosmos ecosystem. Much more likely, right? This is probably a shared set of sequencers. So can you just kind of comment on the distribution approach? And then let's just talk about what some of the trade-offs are of the sequencers.
The communication side, the challenge right now with rollups is that for you to bridge from one rollup to another, or at least optimistic rollups, you need to, there's basically a challenge period of, I think it's, anywhere up to 7 days before your transaction is, guaranteed to be, on basically valid. And then you can bridge over to that other rollup. So you're still going down to the L1, basically to the, Ethereum bridge contract on L1, waiting for that challenge period, and then going up to OP chain 2. And so I think ways that they can get around this, it does lead, I think the most obvious route is to have basically this shared sequencer network, so that the, different rollups, if they use the same sequencer, they can trust each other, right? The whole point of that 7-day period is because, there's one sequencer that knows the truth on one rollup. There's another sequencer that is, not willing to directly trust that other rollup. And so it has to wait basically for, their ultimate source of truth, which is L1, Ethereum L1, to tell them, okay, it's totally valid. So where I think this starts playing out is, definitely a shared sequencer network. And then, potentially this, idea of these L3s that settle to, Optimism mainnet or settle to base. That's another way that, you could get around this, without having to wait like the 7 days. So yeah, I think that there's a lot more, work to be done there in order to make that multi-chain, super chain future possible. Whereas, with Cosmos, every chain is its ultimate source of truth, right? And so as long as you trust that other chain, you can trust what they're telling you via IBC. And so, yeah, I think that that's kind of the biggest missing piece here. And the biggest question I have is, can they figure out a way to, replicate the benefits of IBC, between L2 to L2 to L2? Or is this really going to look more like, is there another layer missing in this picture where most of the, super chains, or most of the OP chains in the super chain world are actually L3s? That to me would make, a lot more sense.
This is just more of a market structure question here, but I am very curious to see how many of these OP chains are really necessary, right? And it is, one question that I'm kind of asking myself, we haven't really got into base in general, but, it'll be interesting to see who ends up attracting more of the kind of users and activity, right? Between Optimism mainnet versus base, because kind of what base has going for it, we talked about it kind of in detail on the roundup edition of Bell Curve that came out on Friday, was it has it has users, right? There's 108 million users that Coinbase can funnel into this chain, and frankly, 108 million is like an order of magnitude, larger than even the most successful. I mean, it's much larger even than Ethereum, right? So that level of users is unprecedented. The disadvantages that Base has is, I think, the big.
All right, I meant to pause about 30 seconds before that. Sorry about that. Anyway, we're gonna get into just a tad bit more of this. All right, I mean, it's pretty good stuff. I mean, it gives you a broader sense. So again, you're welcome to nerd it out. Just look up Optimism Superchain versus Cosmos, for instance. And then, yeah, there's all this stuff about Cosmos SDK versus Optimism Stack. I mean, most of you guys aren't going to nerd out. No offense, right? So basically, we're going to get into... 1 second. Yeah, here we go. Communication hubs and value accrual. Some of you guys have asked about this. Like, how do we create that sense of value? It's like we understand the, with Jasmy's personal data lockers. So that's, that sense of value, right? When it comes to that. And, I think for the most part, most people understand how that works. But how does all this work when it comes to this roll up, this layer 2? And that's a great question. How do you have a sense of that communication hub? We could talk about interoperability all day long, which we do. I mean, at least I do. But how does this layer 2 create that, like it says, value accrual? So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to this part. And let's see, this part it says 32-minute mark on that. All right, so this part's 7 minutes. I know this is a little extended. And then after that, we'll wrap up the Jasmy's coverage as far as Optimism, and then we'll jump to the part about Polkadot. So I should say we're wrapping up the coverage, wrapping up the whole thing of Optimism, and then we'll take you to the whole thing of the cloud side of things. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right to it. Here we go.
Layer. But, I sort of interrupted you before. You were kind of talking about, I think kind of starting to get into the original role of the hub here. And I want to maybe tee this up by, this is the very first FAQ, right? Which is what happens to Optimism mainnet, right? Because this is where they launched the super chain. And in their words, the Optimism mainnet isn't going anywhere. And for now, it's business as usual. In the long run, we envision it as an important coordination hub, one of the most critical pieces of the super chain. So yeah, that wording is pretty interesting. Can you kind of get into, I think it would be good to kind of do like a little bit of a history lesson about the hub and what its original intended purpose was.
Because when I read this, I immediately, and I also was thinking about with Base in mind, my mind immediately went to the Cosmos Hub and really the role of the hub. And the role, I mean, just as a little history, right? So the Cosmos, at an ICO, which was, got funding basically to build out all of the parts of the Cosmos stack to help grow the Cosmos ecosystem. And the specific role of the hub at that point was to be really a messaging hub, so that each of the chains did not need to maintain point-to-point connections and take on that risk, and instead could, basically connect to the hub, and then from the hub they can route to, any other chain that's in the ecosystem. The hub's other role was really user onboarding, because the hub was the, Atom, the token, is really the only Cosmos ecosystem token that was listed on centralized exchanges. And I see Base and Optimism mainnet playing a similar role here. You have Base, which is going to facilitate onboarding, and then you have Optimism mainnet, which I think over time transitions from less of a hub, less of the home of all the applications and the majority of usage happening on Optimism mainnet, to being really how all these L3s built on top of using the OP stack can communicate.
here's the thing. You talk about these layer 3s and so on, which we're like at layer 2. But do you see these examples? Do you understand some of these examples? The example basically is scalability. So even where we're at right now, scalability. What about the future? Yeah, literally outline more of that scalability. That should be, again, some of your takeaway about that. I had to kind of inject that just in case, because sometimes I get it. We watch some of this and it's like, it gets a little dry, right? But that's the key thing. Scalability. You want to see your Jasmy, right, continuously scale, right? That's the bottom line. All right, a little bit more about this. I think there's, I don't know, 5 more minutes or so. Here we go.
Communicate more frictionlessly, rather than having to basically wait for the challenge periods on L1, et cetera, et cetera. And so, yeah, I think it is interesting because, OP, like Optimism, I think, is playing a similar role to the hub here. Their original role was basically to build out the stack, and eventually, facilitate communication between all these different chains that use its stack. And Base is kind of filling that role of being the onboarding tool, by having, going to users where they are.
One question that I have for you is, kind of one of the challenges, right? Initially, is kind of this idea of value accrual. So even when I hear you describe, Base as being kind of the onboarding, but eventually, right, these application developers, the one that are successful once they've gotten kind of the easy onboarding, and they've gotten the users and the distribution that kind of this Optimism Ethereum pipeline give them. Eventually, they'll kind of want more control of the application, move to the L3. In a way, right, there's this kind of it's kind of a rising tide lifts all boats, but there's also a little co-opetition going on in between, Optimism mainnet and Base. And you could almost see like a user journey, right, going right from Coinbase to Base and then to their own L3, and sort of skipping Optimism mainnet. And one of the challenges, right, for the hub, or Atom in general, right, which is the ICO that they raised the funds in, is there's never much thought given to value accrual, right? That was always kind of the challenge for that. So, not that we really want to speculate on kind of token prices here, but can you kind of, dig into that a little bit further?
Yeah. I think that, eventually you could see somewhat of a value accrual tension between apps on Optimism mainnet versus, launching their own L3 to get closer, more control of their block space, get basically, a closer relationship with the user, I would say, by having your own L3. And then, okay, so what is Optimism? If Optimism isn't really, the home of all this activity that's driving, like, where the actual apps live, that's driving, transaction fees and all the normal value accrual methods, what is it going to be? And I think that's kind of where Atom found themselves, or the hub found itself over the past year or two, where, the majority of all the activity, right, is not, the hub doesn't do anything, but the activity is, on these different app chains, and the app chains turned out, to prefer point-to-point connections for the most part. So the original thesis around being, like the messaging hub, there's really no value accrual, and it wasn't really playing out here. I could see Optimism kind of being at a similar place at some point, but the big difference is if it is, all these L3s are using Optimism mainnet, as a shared communication layer, that there probably is some, some MEV there that Optimism will have, or Atom never will have that. And so, I think there are parallels, but the role is really to build out the stack, right? Find a way to onboard users, and then let the application developers, basically take these tools and continue to innovate on it themselves. So I think that's the other piece here that will be interesting is, when these, similar to the Cosmos stack, how the app chains are now sort of the biggest contributors to the stack, to the Cosmos SDK. When do the L3s start contributing to this as well? Because that's when the network effects really pick up, when it's not all on Optimism and their team to, drive this forward. Your biggest users of the stack are also the ones that are continuing to innovate. I think that's really kind of what we've seen in terms of the network effects of the SDK. And if Optimism succeeds here, then that's what they will, start to happen on that side.
Can we maybe?
All right, so there you have it in regards to Optimism and this whole thing of, this layer 2 for Jasmy. I mean, there's going to be a certain amount of people appreciate it. Some people may not even care, right? Let's just be honest about that. We're now going to jump into the other example that Icy Amphibian has. Again, shout out to him. Please make sure that you give him a follow. He can be followed over here at Icy Amphibian, right? ICYAMPHIBIAN. And he's here tonight in the live, so really appreciate it. That's so cool. All right. So getting back into this, notice how he puts Polkadot as a Web3 cloud. Goes on to mention that at the beginning, if you're having trouble, of course, grasping this whole thing of the layer 2, we already talked about that, but, to fully understand, Jasmy must be familiar with these networks. So let's jump into the whole thing in regards to Polkadot. And again, if you're just tuning in, why am I referencing that? It's because of this right here. And you can watch this. It's the Jasmy Aplex Neutral Cloud example, why it matters, released 2 days ago. If you want to catch up about this stuff, if you're the type of guy you're like, nah, just when moon, why are we below 0.003? You gotta keep in mind, technically support, if you follow the whole thing of Jasmy and its support lines, I think it's 0.0028 is actual support. But nonetheless, just broke below that. I consider it personally buying opportunity. I'm not telling what you guys to do. Jasmy's a long-term hold. So, I mean, the way I look at it is, shoot, man, that's like for $280 to get another 100,000. That's just honestly the way I look at it. Or let's say you're somebody who never enter into Jasmy. You could DCA. Heck, you could put that in, maybe do a quarter of that. Whatever your budget is, right? Again, not financial advice. I'm just looking at, like, you want to talk about buying bottom. Hey, not too bad. All right, so let's jump into this other example. If you're wondering about specifically Polkadot, right? This is a great question because it gets brought up. So what about the TPS in regards to like Polkadot, right? Well, that's not really the point. You got to keep in mind, Polkadot basically encompasses all transactions on the relay chain, as well as pair chains. It is a layer 0. Here's a stat. I'll just share this with you. I don't care. Nothing wrong with seeing this. How many TPS can Polkadot handle? Well, it has high scalability due to its what they call parachains. And I'm not going to make this a deep dive about Polkadot, but your takeaway should be, what about this whole thing of parallel processing of transactions? Polkadot's average speed is only 1,000 TPS. However, back on July 2nd, which was only a few months ago, they did have an update that announced that it will reach 100,000 or even 1 million TPS after the major network update. Now, I'll have to look more into that later, but the point is, again, guys, scalability, even from the cloud side of things, right? So we could talk about Neutrix Cloud all day long. Is there scalability in regards to, the oh crap moments of all these people got all this, storage on a cloud, and we're going to run into redundancy issues and so on? No, we're not, because there's scalability even with that. So I thought I'd show you that. Let's jump into what we have here in regards to Polkadot, a little bit of that understanding. So Polkadot as what? A Web3 cloud. Polkadot Decoded 2023, a little bit more modern, right? This was only 3 months ago. And I've gone ahead and fast forward to this part about the 2 key trends. On this one, I think it's about roughly 3 to 4 minutes. We're going to play that. And then after that, we're going to take you to this part about integration gateways for you can understand that. And then we'll definitely wrap up the Jasmy coverage after that. And of course, get into one of the big highlights for tonight, which is Quant. All right. Please smash that like if you appreciate the content. And here we go.
So I want to just talk for a moment before driving into some example scenarios about just a little bit of the broader landscape and talk about like Polkadot and its ideas and how it fits into the broader landscape. And so there's really two key trends that I think about or that I see that are simultaneously happening. So one trend is that there is a consolidation of tech stacks, this is how I call it, right? So the actual technologies that developers use to implement dApps, chains, there's many of them out there. That number is like, I think that where the actual traction is happening is shrinking down to some much smaller set of tech stacks. I would put EVM at the top. So, the EVM still continues to dominate. Like when you talk to developers and you look at numbers, EVM is still by far the most popular tech stack to implement a protocol or dApp. But for chains, you obviously have both Substrate and Cosmos SDK as kind of, I'll call them the mature options, with some, newcomers like Avalanche's Hyper SDK, perhaps I'd throw in there, but at a much lesser set of maturity. So you have this kind of consolidation of tech stacks. It's very, very difficult these days, by the way, I'd say, to have a standalone chain with some kind of proprietary tech stack. I kind of feel like those days might be over. It's very, very hard to do that and to bootstrap all the tooling and all the other things around it. That's not for the faint-hearted. So at the same time as there's this consolidation of tech stacks to some fewer number, there's a proliferation of different multi-chain ecosystems. This is a big change from last year. If I, coming to talk to you like last year, this would not have been the case. So this is within the last 12 months, there's been a huge movement of other ecosystems talking about what I call ultimately a Polkadot-like concept, right? So it's that, hey, we have a tech stack. You can use that to build like an app-specific chain, an app chain. There's going to be many of those app chains. They're going to use some sort of messaging system, ultimately. That doesn't exist for a lot of these yet, to be able to communicate with each other. And so other than Polkadot and Cosmos, there's the Optimism folks have a concept of their superchain. Arbitrum has their Orbit and Nitro SDK. Polygon ZK. ZK Sync has a similar thing. Eigenlayer is a new project on Ethereum mainnet that seeks to take Ethereum security and apply it to what they call AVSs. Avalanche has its subnets. So basically, this idea of application-specific chains, running in parallel, being able to talk to each other, that's basically taken hold in the market. And I'd pause and reflect for a moment that it's a great testament that that this Polkadot idea is correct, basically. This is something that the folks working on Polkadot have been talking about for a long, long time. And I think the market is kind of catching up with those ideas now. And all these are much more nascent ecosystems in terms of technology, but the concept is there and the direction is there. So I think this has some implications, though. So the implication is that, what does the landscape look like? It's going to look like many of these kind of connected islands, simultaneously coexisting. And maybe they have decent connectivity within themselves, but then there'll be some sort of looser connectivity between these islands. And honestly, I see this as only further fragmenting the landscape, ultimately, because there's all of these options now for building. One common thread that I would point out is that almost all of these new ones are using EVM as the base technology stack. So you can have any color you want as long as it's EVM, I think is how a lot of these people see things. But yeah, many of these different multi-chain environments, at least coming or under development in various stages of development. So I think a question that I ask myself is, okay, what is Polkadot's role in this world that's then proliferating and fragmenting further with all of these different islands? And so that's a question that I'm seeking to to answer or think about through the course of this presentation. So let's dive into some examples here.
All right, we'll get into this last part, and let's just go ahead and fast forward this. The integration gateway. Okay, I mean, don't get me wrong, his examples are good. All right, it's just that we don't want to turn this into a 3-hour Jasmy coverage. Maybe you like that, but some people don't. All right, so yeah, integration gateway. Let's get right to this. This one is only, I don't know, I guess 3 minutes, so not too bad. And then we'll wrap things up in regards to Jasmy. Here we go.
So, when I think about these different examples, I feel like they're all hints at what the future looks like, right? You kind of get these glimpses of, what are things going to look like in the future? And I think there's some common themes, right? Where, in a lot of those scenarios, Moonbeam is acting as in this kind of back-end role, right? So it's in this role that's facilitating different kinds of cross-chain interactions behind the scenes. And I do like that, right? So like Moonbeam doesn't have to be the thing that users are directly interacting with. Even if it's further back in the stack, it's still getting like the benefit of the transactional activity. And so, I like that strategy. I think there's some applicability even to Polkadot for this idea, right? That like being in this back-end role can be quite powerful. And so I realized that this is a little bit of an intimidating looking slide, but what I tried to do here is think about combining a lot of these concepts we just like looked at. So I start to get a feel or kind of hints at or kind of this intuition around like what like apps of the future will look like. And they're not these things that just get deployed on single chains anymore, right? So we have, we might have Moonbeam here like as a shared environment acting as this kind of, I call it integration gateway, right? It's this thing that's coordinating and integrating multiple different components. You have kind of your WAN, let's say, that's connecting those contracts out to like other destinations, other chains that are like outside of Polkadot. But then you have, of course, I'm calling it the LAN, right? You have like Polkadot itself with a number of interesting services like on the back end that developers can then use and combine with the smart contracts on Moonbeam to make for a whole, right? So you could have Tansy container chains, as I was describing, to run heavier parts of your workload. Of course, there's a number of other parachain-based services. There's other ones that I'm pretty hot on. So things like, for example, storage, having a storage parachain that is programmatically accessible from smart contracts. And so you start to get at this kind of idea that there's kind of a Web3 cloud-like idea, right, that is created with Polkadot at its core.
If you missed anything else earlier, especially with what he was talking about, this is the part to really pay attention to. We're talking about Web3 cloud. So again, don't miss this part. All right, here we go.
But I think historically I was focused more on the right side of the equation of what are the different chains, what are the services. But I realize now, and where the focus for us has been lately, has been more on the left side. How do we take these services in Polkadot and connect them to users and like assets that are on like in other environments? And so that's where cross-chain protocols like Axelar, Wormhole, these are the kinds of things. These are transports that allow us to reach these other destinations. And when you talk to devs, they want to reach those users that are on mainnet or other destinations, right, where a lot of the users are these days. And so I think all of these things can come together in a way that's quite interesting. And you asked the question here, like, where is this dApp deployed? And the question is, there's not one chain, right? It's kind of everywhere, right? It's on all of these chains. It's on Moonbeam. It's leveraging these like services on Polkadot. So that's kind of the direction that I see things going in. And I guess to just leave some thoughts here, or some concluding like thoughts. Going back to the original idea at the beginning of the talk.
All right, we don't need to hear his conclusion, but that gives you the gist of all of it, right? It should give you a broader sense of what Jasmy's looking to do with this layer 2 solution in regards to Optimism. Should also give you a broader sense of, from a Web3 cloud-based solution, and we covered that literally, 2 days ago. I've also, of course, have covered the Apex partnership many months ago, all right, even on the old channel. So the key thing is scalability, interoperability, and that pathway forward for Jasmy and where they're looking to go. For some people, they'll look at the price and say, wow, it's going the other way. Again, guys, you got to keep in mind, what market are we still in? We're still technically in a bear market. We're still in that accumulation phase. It's a long-term hold for me. And the way I look at it is like, I'm not going to get, I guess you could say, flooded out of it. I'm looking at it as like, well, it's another buying opportunity. I'm not going to tell you guys what to do. You got to do what's best for you and your family and so on. But I look at it like, yeah, it's an absolute blessing in disguise. Even if I was a person just coming in, aren't we all excited about, trying to buy towards bottom? I did that whole thing about Flare, coming in at bottom. So if somebody's new, they could basically come into Jasmy darn near bottom. I mean, like, wow, I mean, even if a person was like, yeah, I just want to start off like 50,000 or 25,000, maybe a person's goal is 100,000 Jasmy, right? That's not too bad. It's not going to break the bank. Some other projects, yeah, you're going to have to kind of shell out a little bit to have something that might be, game changing, generational wealth for the future and so on. So it is what it is. Glad to bring it to you guys. And a special thanks once again to Icy Amphibian. I'll definitely tag you and give you some thanks in regards to this chopped up version that will come out probably tomorrow, right? You guys always get the news and the updates first on the live. That's one of the benefits of tuning in live. I don't know if you guys ever noticed that. All right, we're going to take a pause. The next coverage, of course, will be the Q&T coverage, if you guys appreciate that. We're going to turn off the branding in regards to Jasmy because we're going to kick it back into the comments. And in the comments, we have Boomer Affid Sooner says, roll that beautiful beam footage. I don't know what this is all about. But anyway, X marks the spot. Glad to have you, obviously, tonight. Always wondered, who is that in the picture? Anyway, let's go further down. Icy Amphibian says 100% absolutely. Yes, glad to have Icy Amphibian with the Jasmy Ninjas. Instead of the Jasmy Army, the Jasmy Ninjas. All right, let's see here. Thank you for Tim sharing my Twitter. If you guys want to, I don't know, maybe you shared Icy Amphibians at some point. All right, Dennis Leal, welcome back. Definitely feels like a utility coin run is near. I would agree with you on that. Would be the first one. I laugh at the videos and charts. Don't compare as what is coming had never happened. All right. Welcome, Dennis Leal. James Breziel saying hello to everybody. Oh, you do have two ledgers. Okay, cool. So you can probably share how that worked for you. Boomer Affid Sooner says WrestleMania. No, I don't think so. In reality, after the quant coverage, that might wrap it up. All right, let's see. X marks the spot. Excuse me. I almost said X marks the spark. Maximus, do you think that Binance is doing a smoke show so that we can get out of Jasmy? Yes. The answer is yes. Why is that? And I got criticism the other day from a guy, and that's okay. I can take criticism. He says, Max, you always cover all this stuff and, with your deep dive research, and that's great. But how come, why don't you ever talk about Binance? I do talk about Binance. Where do I talk about it? I talk about it on the live show. I've addressed FUD. Many months ago, I did a FUD buster thing talking about Binance US and so on, and how I feel as though, look, guys, it is about buying bottom. Do you abandon Jasmy, or do you capitalize on other people's fear, right? Even right now, what are you going to do? Are you going to sell your Jasmy? Because you want to know something? We know that Jasmy runs a correlation with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's like, what about the beginning of next year? What about Japanese, Japanese yen denominated stable coins and those pairings haven't even happened yet. Oh, Max, the unbanning of foreign stable coins, Tether and Circle hasn't happened yet either, right? So you're going to tell me you're going to enter back into Jasmy when all those things start happening? What if only 1/4 of those things happen? Let's say, for instance, just throw this out there. I know I said we'll stop talking about Jasmy for a second. Let's say, for instance, that we don't get the unbanning of the foreign stable coins, right? The Tethers, the Circles. But we do know that we will have, as far as the local economy in Japan, Japanese yen denominated stable coins. And we talked about the whole thing of MUFG. We gave other examples of like, hey, this bank is connected to this. This one is heavily invested into Sony. That creates a lot of volume. And if you understand that and have done the research with us here at our community, then you understand what you have and why you hold it. My thing is this. I think a lot of people, I don't mean this any disrespectfully, right? But a lot of times it's kind of like we lose focus of the research that we've already done. And what I really mean by that is you will see a narrative in the market of, people point out, oh no, we let's say we lost 0.003, right? but real support is 0.0028, and it can even go below that. And if anything, for me, I know it sounds crazy. Some people are like, man, Max, you're just going to go down with the ship. I will buy more on that fear. I will buy more Jasmy, even if it went to 0.001, because I look at like all these big things of what we're excited about, at least what I'm excited about, we haven't even got to that yet. So for one, Japanese yen denominated stablecoins, that pairing. When I talk about utility in motion or implementation, we talk about the ISOs. For Jasmy, we haven't got to that part yet, but we will. We will. Does that happen? Even the first half of next year. Hey, awesome. I'm cool with that. So the Bitcoin halving, Japanese yen denominated stablecoins, this is the thing. I don't want people to lose track because, again, I call it tunnel vision. Like you'll turn on that, whatever it is. You press the button of, oh, no, Jasmy is, below 0.003. So forget everything I've been watching or learning for, I don't know, let's say a year, right? I'm going to throw that all out the window because I saw somebody say like, oh no, this is going to the toilet. You know what I mean? And it's just like, okay, ask yourself this. When you see that flood, literally remind yourself, did we have the pairing of those, local stable coins to enable massive volume for the asset we have? Has that ever happened yet? No, Max, never happened yet. Right, it hasn't happened yet. What about some of these other things? Are we at the layer 2 yet? No, Max, we're not at the layer 2, but some guys have point out on YouTube that they don't like migrations. Okay. What are their intentions? Day trading or long-term hold? Well, it kind of seems like towards day trading. Okay. I'm not about day trading, Jasmy. It's a long-term hold. I'm not trying to get into crypto because I just want to make an extra few $100 here and there. I hold this for long term. That's just me. Don't get me wrong. There's guys like Will Fix who kill it with day trading, and maybe that's you. But for me, I go based off what I know, and what I know is I killed it in 2021, and I'm not looking to just settle for what I got in 2021. I'm looking for generational wealth. So with that said, this risk to reward ratio with Jasmy is so significant, hence why myself and a lot of the people from the XRP army recognize Jasmy and they hold Jasmy. So it's that risk, the return on investment and that risk to reward ratio. It's a little bit more riskier, true. But when you take more of that deeper dive into it, understand it's the future, the innovation of what they're trying to build and expand and so on. I mean, literally, I know it sounds crazy. Some people are like, man, you're just nuts. Hey, cool. I'm okay with that. Like Will Fix will say, take a hit of that hopium, right? Well, it's more to it than just that. When you research Jasmy more, you see, wow, they're well connected. Did we lose tunnel vision on this? The Super Bowl of IoT blockchain conferences. That's coming up soon. Where is it? It's in Japan, but it's not just exclusive to only inviting people from Japan and Southeast Asia. No, it's an international IoT conference. It's literally the Super Bowl of it all. I definitely think that we see some of the bigger players there. We gave you examples. Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, they're all in when it comes to Japan. And what has Warren Buffett stated? He wants some more of that. He wants more of that gravy train, right? And so they've been gung-ho the last 2 years, and especially this year, of going all in on Japan, especially when it comes to startups. So, he's anti-crypto. I get that, but we already had a couple examples. I think Mike Cornwell even shared one. I shared at least one. Warren Buffett with Propi. He doesn't even realize that he's technically invested in Propi. And I know we haven't done that deep dive yet on that. We will eventually. When, Max? A year from now? No, we will get to that. But the key thing is we already gave you examples about some of those Japanese startups, and then we see, oh, this is actually tied into crypto. He doesn't have to buy the actual tokens, right? Berkshire Hathaway doesn't have to buy the actual tokens, but they can do what? They could be like, a form of a VC, to raise the venture capital into some of these projects. And then that does what? that basically sets the flame, ignites the flame of the funding, and then it becomes like a snowball effect and so on. So I definitely see Berkshire Hathaway getting into some of these things. You might even see a couple representatives from Berkshire Hathaway attending that. You might see, for instance, maybe somebody from Elon Musk's team go to this particular IoT conference. Why would that happen? Because he has a data privacy problem, a big problem that still hasn't been fully answered. What happens with that? Again, I'd rather take the chance of take the chance on Jasmy and then be told later on, nope, there was nothing there, than not take the chance, right? And IoT in itself is such a huge industry. They're breaking into, they really have broken into finance democracy and so on. So I could talk you guys' ears off about it. I'm not going to talk anymore about Jasmy tonight, right? But yeah, I will buy on that fear. And speaking of which, I said I wouldn't talk about Jasmy anymore. Who's buying on the fear as we speak? Can I show you guys want to see some proof about who's buying on the fear? I'll show you an example, exactly what I'm talking about right now. As we speak, look at this. Why would volume be up 21%? roughly 23 million in volume, right? There's some kind of confidence there. Who is buying on that? I bet you anything. Dip Metaverse, maybe IC Amphibian. Shout out to you guys, right? You guys are, I don't know if it's you, IC, I apologize, but I know Dip posts quite a bit. He tracks what's going on with whale activity. You better believe that we're probably going to see reports of, this wallet bought on fear. How many times have we seen that? Again, guys, my point is this. My point is, look at this. I'm highlighting right here, up 21%. People like myself, even though I'm not a whale, like I guess you could say like I'm a shark or a dolphin. I don't know how we look at that. We buy on other people's fear. We capitalize on other people's fear. It's not bragging. It's just a matter of, I'm convinced based off the research of where we're going with this. I'm not convinced on some random fudder who is just going to be like, Jasmy scam, and that's it. I know that's a weird thing I always say. But in reality, that's all it is. Or how about this? Earlier today, I did like an XRP video. And it said, for instance, XRP flip of the switch, something like future event confirmed. I could totally tell that guy just saw the thumbnail, dismissed all of the material, and didn't even watch it. Because in the video, what does it state in the video? It basically goes on to back up all the references. Literally, you have this particular conference of the big institutional players literally saying, quote unquote, we're only years away from this flip of the switch, right? In other words, not decades away. So that's not me, like the guy saying I was lying, he says. It's not me lying. That's just basically you being lazy, not doing more of your own research. And I see it time and time again. They'll look at the thumbnail, they won't watch it, and they dismiss it. I can see that a mile away, because the way I look at it is, if I'm going to make a statement like that, I'm going to back it up. And people have watched our show for long enough, they know that, right? But do you know that? So never dismiss the research that you've done for the longest time and get that tunnel vision. And maybe even I'm guilty of it sometime, but then I put myself in check and say, you know what? Come on now. What have we learned? We learned that we haven't got to this point yet. Now, it'd be different, for instance, with Jasmy, if we already got to all these points, got to the whole thing of, having all these pairings and so on, and then there was no, it's like, well, Max, you talk about utility motion, but that never happened, right? That would be a thing. But then again, guys, we haven't got to those things yet. So my thing is, unless I experience that, all these things that haven't happened yet, but that will, and also understanding that, the bull market is just right around the corner. I really think so. I am not ready to throw in the towel until these things, at least half of these things, or even 1/4 of these things come true. To me, that is foolishness. That is being emotional. And we've seen some people be just that, emotional when it comes to that. Not just people from the audience, but even content creators. And that's no disrespect, but that's just the way it is. All right. We're going to kick it back to the comments for a bit. We have a good outline for you guys in regards to Quant. Quite the outline, I should say. Big up to the one and only Mr. Quant Papa. Love it when they call me Quant Papa. And, yes, always glad to team up with him and do deep dive research in regards to Quant. Now, this is not just trying to, create more content just for the heck of it, maybe a little bit, but some key findings from Quant Papa. I sent out a tweet earlier today in regards to the whole thing of confirming RLN, and we're going to get more into some of those findings here in a bit. All right. Let's read a few more comments. Michael Edwards says he assumes Jasmy he assumes the update to new Jasmy blockchain will occur automatically if in cold storage. I would not assume that at all. My thing is you always want to make sure, like for instance, if there's specific instructions on what we have to do, we have to follow those instructions. I do not want to see anybody get wrecked on that. Do not assume that it's going to be automatic. Always assume that it's, I guess you could say that it's not. I know that's a pain, but I would not assume that it's just going to be all automatic. Now, some people say, well, yeah, I'm going to assume, like for instance, let's say somebody bought it off of crypto.com. Probably like a 90% chance that crypto.com is going to automatically do it for you, right? If you held it on their particular exchange. Most people, I should say most people, our audience of people, we hold on ledgers and stuff and whatnot. But for me, I would not take that chance. But do I see it being more catered towards it being automatic, especially for 1-1? Yeah, absolutely. But still, I wouldn't take the chance. I would make sure that, as I read the instructions, especially when it comes to cold storage, because there might be different ways of going about that, right? All right, let's see here. I got a lot to catch up on. IC Amphibian says both Polygon and Optimism are supported networks on Chainlink's new CCIP cross-chain interoperability protocol. I do own some Chainlink. That's cool. X marks the spot. Binance buys a ish load of Jasmy, then create their own data locker. It's BS. Yeah, I mean, they're going to do manipulation, and they don't come out and say it, but we know for a fact that they do. Well, glad to have you part of the club. All right, let's see here. The fix is on again. Yeah, we're always dual streaming. We're building up both communities. It's awesome what Will's got going on over there. Let's see what's going on with Will's channel over there, where you have producer Third Son can't communicate. That must have been the guy from the Polygon. Joseph, welcome. He says great work. Thank you so much for being here. Still about roughly 10 people watching from Will Fix's side, and then over here we got about 35. So roughly 46 people. Not too bad of a crowd. I think we ticked up into the 65s, maybe 70s at one point. All right, let's see here. Going to go further down. Read this question from Jairo Alonso. Hey, Max, which is better of this two, Polygon or Optimism? I'm going to go with Polygon. But, you got to keep in mind, Optimism is not too bad either. But if somebody said, if you could just pick one, Max, what would you go with? I got to go with Polygon over Optimism. I'm just going to be honest about that. But you got to keep in mind, I mean, Jasmy has a budget. They're not in the top 100. They were at one point before the whole thing of Binance US. For all we know, maybe before the whole thing of Binance US, maybe they were in talks with Polygon of getting that thing done. You got to keep in mind the things that happen behind the scenes. And it might have been a case like a compromise, like, hey, we need to get to the point where we have a scaling solution. We're wanting to launch our own, layer 2 solution, Jasmy chain. And this is not a knock on Optimism. I think Optimism is good. I think it's proven itself, the examples we've given. But here's the thing. You're going to have people who are going to say, I wish Jasmy could have went with Polygon compared to Optimism. And then you're going to have other people who are going to say, well, I wish they would have waited a little longer. Well, they wait a little bit longer. What about the Bitcoin halving and so on? There's so many other factors. It's like, my thing is, I want them to stay in line with the roadmap they have. I want them to stay in line with what they promised in regards to their white paper. Most people haven't read the white paper. right? So again, some of these content creators saying, that they would have preferred it being in like in a V1 because migrations suck. It's like, okay, I understand that, Mike. You had bad experience with regards to migrations, right? Get that. We're in a bear market. You want them to, if you're still accumulating. Here's the thing. All right, I know I'm getting ahead of myself. You really want to accumulate in a bull market, guys? I'm being honest. We're retail investors, right? So my thing is, like, I don't want to accumulate during a bull market. I want to accumulate, during the accumulation phase. It's the saying goes, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Really, this is like a double-edged sword to a sense. Like, am I too far off? So I'm glad they went about this way. When migration happens, and it's before, for instance, the Bitcoin halving, you might see that the price even tank that much more. You lose some of this. This is where some people say, well, you could buy back in. True. You could. Are you willing to take the chance, though, if these people are wrong, right? Is there anybody talking about that? Because what if they are wrong and you can never come in again at these price levels of 0.00282930? You get what I'm saying? Yes, it could tank that much more. It could very well tank to a penny, even during the V2 migration and so on, right? All those things are serious ways of looking at the outcome and so on. But you got to ask yourself, is it worth it to you to give into that? And if so, how much would it cost you to come back in? Do you have a plan for coming back in? I don't know. I just think that these are conversations. Not to sound like you're schizophrenic or anything. Nothing against people who are schizophrenic. But you have this conversation with yourself. Maybe you can write on a spreadsheet, like, here's the scenario. Like, I just don't think a lot of people really think some of this stuff out. I'm just being honest. All right, let's read a few more of this. It's great to be here. You make great content. Thanks, I see Amphibian. You create great research on, crypto Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Richie Rich is in the house. Don't forget to click that like button. Thank you so much. We're going to go further down. What percentage of portfolio for Casper? Like I point out, I am stretched thin on my Casper. I haven't hit my goals on Casper. I think I have like $300 worth of Casper. I mean, for some people, maybe that's their goals, but for me, that's not my goals. I want to have. I shouldn't use dollar amounts. Sorry about that. I don't like doing that. But basically speaking, like, I want a certain amount of Casper. I'm not to that point yet, but I will be. I can't own everything. I thought about doing that. Like, hey, man, why don't you just put like another $28,000 into all these ones? Like, a bunch of ICP and Cosmos and all this and all that. Hey, sounds great, right? But I also want to stack more of what I have. And Casper is one of those examples. So it is what it is. And I also need to get Caspa. And I'm looking forward to Will Fix talking about Caspa. He's going to be really excited about that. I know that the XRP army is obviously like they love Will Fix. I mean, he's like overnight sensations. It's really cool. But he stated to me he's really looking forward to covering Caspa on a regular basis. And he's like, I pretty much have to, man. He's like, it's make it or break it with this Caspa miner. So and that's going to be so cool to have somebody actually is mining, who's a content creator, to bring that element too. So we'll get more into that. All right. The Nikkei is tanking right now. Huh. All right. Let's see here. We're going to get into, our next bit of coverage here. Give this guy a follow. Quant Papa on crypto Twitter. Let me just get the branding back up. On X, actually. So you can follow me at DBG Maximus, but follow this guy, the one and only Quant Papa, the GOAT of quant research, as far as I'm concerned. All right. I said that tokenizer is basically, the GOAT when it comes to like 20 or 30 plus projects, but quant specifically, Quant Papa takes the cake, 110%. So thank you again to Quant Papa. He helped out, of course, when it comes to this deep dive research, and we're going to do just that. We're going to get into the quant segment of the night. finally, right? 2 hour and a 14-minute mark. So yes, let's get into this. Let's take that off for a second. And I'm gonna double check the other screen, making sure we're good. I think we are good. All right, so let me see. Yep, we're good. And let's see. Cool Cat Crib, the XRP Maxi Army are the dumbest people on YouTube. Oh. All right. Third behind Ethereum and Cardano. Oh, that's somebody else calling. Okay. All right, let's get into it. I'm gonna pull up the branding one more time. I always like pulling up the branding for us. Thank Jay for helping me out with this. All right, there we go. So what is this all about? Well, I'm going to clear up some tabs real quick because it kind of helps. The quant coverage of the night, right? Right. So Quant Papa kind of took some screenshots, got into some of this stuff. And, you see some of these ones referenced here. Obviously, ANAPA, Innovate Finance. But the key area for you should be the UK finance. Now, why are we addressing this tonight? Well, there was an update in regards to yesterday, straight from the Quant Network website once again, and we'll take you right to that. So for one, the update yesterday, because today's the 18th, talks about Quant joins UK finance. Who posted this? It's Andrew Carrier. He's the main marketing guy when it comes to Quant. Now, getting into this, I'm going to show you some key tags. They tagged associations, Digital Innovation Summit, and financial institutions. It says Quant and UK Finance 2023 associate member. Andrew Carrier kind of gets into this outline. It's not super long, but he states that UK Finance acts to enhance competitiveness, support customers, and facilitate innovation. Basically speaking, Quant Network is proud to announce that they have joined the UK's preeminent financial services association. They will be speaking at UK Finance's Digital Innovation Summit later this month. And we introduced this. Quant Papa had these particular dates and why it was a big deal. You even have R3. Remember how we pointed that out? I don't know if you guys saw that video. But UK Finance is on the collective voice, or is the collective voice for the banking and finance industry. Again, like some of your key takeaways of hey, I don't understand why this is a big deal. Representing more than 300 firms across the industry. Now that is a big deal. It acts to enhance competitiveness, support customers, and facilitate just that innovation. I don't understand why Quant doesn't trend as well as XRP, but I honestly think it's just because not enough of people understand it and know it. Quant has joined, of course, as an associate member. I'll get a little bit more into what Andrew Carrier has in regards to this outline. Goes on to mention the Digital Innovation Summit is the UK Finance's flagship event. So it's a premier event, and you like the idea that you see Quant at the forefront of this particular event. This takes place on Halloween, October 31st in London, England. It brings together speakers from businesses, academia, government, and even regulators to explore the emerging technologies that will transform finance. Now, we have shared the whole thing of this guy who's a key speaker, Mr. Sabih Bazad. Remember, we did an outline talking about him. He, of course, is the head of digital assets and currency transformation at the Deutsche Bank. There's also Simon Ecott, the head of payments at NatWest Group, and Ian Stewart, who's the chief executive officer over at HSBC UK Bank. Now, in regards to Gilbert Verdian, the head honcho, he's going to be speaking there. We pointed that out, of course. And it's in regards to a session about the digital pound moderated by Paul Horlak of Santander, right? We talked about Santander quite a bit. They're going to share their experience of working on Project Rosalind. And I think at some point, when we get more into it, maybe Quant Papa chops it up. I don't know. I'm not putting pressure on Quant Papa, but he's just going to basically do it anyway because he's like an AI. Just boom. You should see the messages that Quant Papa sends me. It's like, how is this even possible? I mean, it's just like a nonstop rolling thing of just tons of information. You think we put out a lot of content? I'm telling you, we haven't even got to most of this stuff yet. But I do like that statement that Andrew Carrier has here, and that is in regards to, you know, the experience in regards to Project Rosalind. I think you're going to see a summary firsthand from Gilbert Verdian, maybe even talking about, you know, what he did with the BIS, teamed up with, for instance, Augustine Karstens, right, of the BIS. But your takeaway should be this: emerging payments, business development. And now we talked about Citi, and we're going to confirm some things here in a bit. Shout out to Quant Papa again, because I did get into the PDF and I did do a Control F because I was like, I'm not going to sit here and read this whole thing all day because I read all day anyway, right? But I posted on Twitter for the naysayers, just like, oh, this is just a nothing burger. It's not a nothing burger. It's one thing to have proof to trump the people that say, you know, oh, it's just a nothing burger, right? So here's the thing. Tony McLaughlin shares the stage with Gilbert Verdian in regards to emerging payments and business development, right? From Citi. Tom Mutton, CBDC director of the Bank of England. We understand how big that is, of course, the BIS. So Quant will indeed have a presence. That's one of your key takeaways. And they're going to share more of demonstrating the whole Overledger platform, right? We like to see a little bit more of that. Of course, I have a demo from, I believe, Facebook in regards to shows the whole thing of the XRPL and whatnot. You know, being able to switch quickly to XRPL or pretty much just about anything they want to switch to in the matter of, like, you know, one click. On the bottom, you have some more tags. You have associations, Digital Innovation Summit, financial institutions, partners, all these key things, UK finance. Now, jumping into the main part of this outline, I want to share this with you guys. When you go over to the ukfinance.org site, you will see what is basically mentioned here. And you have associate members of the UK Finance, their firms, so on and so forth. It has a member list, right, from A to Z. So I thought, naturally, all right, let's check out Q for Quant. In the process of doing so, you will see, boom, right here, Quant. I even decided, like, what about V for, like, Vodafone, right? Well, yeah, I'm ahead of you. Boom, Vodafone UK. And I've done a deep dive about that thanks to some of the, you know, content and research from Quant Papa. But Vodafone should be looked upon as, like, you know, Verizon back in the mid-2000s. Like here in the United States, Vodafone is basically like the Verizon of the UK. And again, remember that Quant network connection. We already established that. Getting more into this, why it's significant. Check this out. I mean, this is not exactly the whole thing about UK finance, but Quant Papa wants to bring this to your attention. So it says 12 hours ago, not exactly 12 hours ago, probably maybe like a day or more. Who knows? Might be even older than that. LackChain, the reference, says, thanks to ISO standards TC307 for letting us express our interest in joining their activities. Right. The Quant Network standard, the Gilbert Verdian standard. We hope our intent statement for this collaboration meets your approval. We thank the technical committee, it says, ISO TC 307 for, you know, having us. And of course, Gilbert thanks them. Very glad to have LAC Network join ISO TC 307 and help progress blockchain standards. Sorry about that. I didn't want to sneeze on a live stream. You know, can you imagine if I sneezed all the time? It'd be one thing of, like, crypto Hulk coughs all the time, right? I'd be known as this guy that sneezes all the time. You know, it's just like, can this brother get a freaking Luden's cough drop or something, right? No, the answer is no. Can Maximus just get some nasal spray? The answer is also no on that. I don't want to get addicted to that. I don't want to be known as the guy that snorts a bunch of nasal spray up my nose 24/7 either, right? Anyway, Max, get back on topic, right? Yes. Anyway, so with that said, Gilbert Verdian was very glad to have LackChain join those standards and help progress, right? I think I already mentioned that. Now, getting into this a little bit more, I'm going to share this tab. And I found this in the PDF. And I basically state what? If you've been following the whole thing of our RLN QNT connection, JP Morgan, Citi, some people are like, oh, that's just speculative. You're just assuming. All right. You literally have to have everything proven to you and in writing. So like I said, I posted this like roughly a few minutes before tonight's show. It said QNT for those who only look at the thumbnail. Again, back to the whole thing of what I stated with Jasmy earlier. For those who, or XRP, excuse me. For those who only look at the thumbnail, never look at the presented material because DYOR, do your own research, takes effort. We already made JP Morgan connection and Citi to RL1. Here you go. Right? In regards to quant, knows Polygon as well. And like I mentioned, knows Polygon as well. Why? Because Polygon is also part of the quantum financial system. I'm going to blow this up for you guys, and I'll blow it up even that much more for you guys here in a second. Because there's always going to be naysayers. You know, I have people like literally from XRP community telling me that I'm a liar. I mean, I'm not going to get butthurt about it, but it just proves to me that people look at the thumbnail, and it says something like, for instance, flip of the switch event imminent or something like that. And they're like, you're a liar. But in the actual video, it's like, no, not really. I didn't, I kind of backed this up. But anyway, plain as day, what does it say? You have this right here. Let me just double check the settings. I think we're good on this. Yeah. What's this analysis? Well, it was carried out a while ago that, on whether decentralized or centralized infrastructures are more architecturally viable. The analysis revealed that decentralized tech has significant advantages, that RLN can benefit from, particularly on the tokenization theory. I talked you guys' ears off since especially I think it was last Saturday about tokenization. Maybe getting tired of hearing about it. But it's that theory in regards to tokenization, integrity, transparency, and privacy. The discovery phase technology work also focus on a comparative analysis of the technical platforms that could be best fit, listen to this part, in regards to RLN architecturally. After initial research, the analysis was validated by an information gathering exercise with key technology platforms. And here's your boil it, mash it, stick it in a stew. These included Corda, R3. Remember, we did R3 for both Quant and also XRP. And of course, everybody knows about the whole thing with XDC. But yeah, there's R3. You have Adhara, Millicent, and of course, boom, Quant, even highlighted. I literally highlighted that one on that particular one. Polygon, Canton, by the way, Quant Papa sent me a bunch of things about Canton Network. I got to wrap my head around that a little bit more. I sent a message like, hey, I'm not going to get into that tonight, but we're going to get more into that later. But again, guys, Quant and Polygon, but especially Quant. There's also detailed analysis on quorum, parity, and Hyperledger Besu. Ooh. Who covered the whole thing about Hyperledger Besu in regards to interoperability for the future of Jasmy? I'm just throwing that in there. So you have all this thing about RLN partitions, adoption. Look at what it mentions. Commercial banks. On that part says no, but it gives you examples of like yes, commercial bank wholesale partition on the what network with API integrating external platforms. I wonder what the heck that could be. So earlier mentions Quant, literally, just in case you missed it again, boom, Quant. And then you got this option 1A of what? API integrating external platforms. I wonder what the heck could that be? Quant really stands out when it comes to APIs, among other things. You have these examples of option 2, commercial bank partitions and central bank wholesale partition and the shared ledger and integration with central bank and retail CBDC via core ledger APIs. Remember the example we gave you the other day of our CBDCs, retail CBDCs? Again, guys, Quant, Bank of International Settlements, Bank of England. Then also giving this whole thing about RLN with also who? Some of the ones that are more local here in the United States, your JP Morgans, your cities. Cities is obviously more worldwide. So that's a big deal. Getting more into what we have. Let's share this. So I'm going to pull this up. Back to the UK finance, because that's the big update. So on the UK finance site, talks about RLN. How do we know that? Well, RLN stands for Regulated Liability Network, UK Discovery Phase, UK Finance. Key additional considerations of this experimentation phase exploring includes the following: requirement of wallets and sub-wallets, offline payments across all forms of money. Remember the outline? I don't know if anybody even pays attention to this stuff. Sometimes I think some of you guys do, but a lot of people just don't watch it. You know, somebody mentioned to me, Max, don't be down in the dumps about not getting much views. You want to know something? I will cover quant whether it gets 100 views or 10,000 or 100,000 views. But he is right, and it was encouraging. He said, at the height of the bull market, people will want to come back and find out about quant. But in reality, when they do, it'll be too late. They'll find out about it. But, you know, they're part of the FOMO. You know what I mean? Think of how many people could have learned about this now and accumulated now. We talk about quant like at $85 roughly. You know? Oh my gosh. Like, what about when it's, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars? So look what it says. Roslyn, APIs on what? RLN Ledger. Notice the key thing when it comes to RLN. We gave you numerous examples. If you've been following the content in regards to JP Morgan, Citi, Roslyn, obviously, Bank of International Settlements, Bank of England. You see how it all comes full circle back to what? Quant with the overledger. Getting more into this, a little bit more from, I believe, UK Finance. Scope of discovery phase. I'm not going to read all this, but I will read the third paragraph. When exploring the consumer domestic use case, a number of other use cases were suggested, such as the home buying journey, purchasing concert tickets. Remember I talked about this? Remember how somebody said, maybe it was Cool Cat Crypto. This is not me picking on you, Cool Cat. I respect you, Cool Cat. There's probably some other people. Do we have examples of like a QRC20 token? Like has anybody even on the retail side try to do tokenization from Quant's Overledger? The answer is obviously yes. It's Galileo protocol. Now, I'm not invested into Galileo protocol. I have covered it quite a bit in the past, but I just decided there was other, better opportunities. But, excuse me, allergies kind of kicking in. But the key thing is the tokenization of another utility layer for Galileo, the OX. You can go look into it for yourself right now. The tokenization of movie tickets and concert tickets. This example literally solidifies or backs that up. Purchasing concert tickets, marketplace platform payments, for example, food delivery. Example of more than 30 potential retail use cases listed in Project Rosalind final report. So, we do have examples of if, Leo X tokenizing using Overledger and creating QRC20 tokens. What about NFTs? QRC 721 smart contract NFTs through Overledger. But this final report tested the potential functionality, adoption, and innovation of a retail CBDC in the UK. It was suggested that these use cases should be considered in any experimentation phase, and it would be beneficial, think about it, to explore how they could be delivered in all forms of retail digital money rather than by retail CBDC only. All? Yes, all forms of retail digital money. When we talk about your on-ramps and off-ramps, when we talk about widespread adoption, this gives you the example, boom, plain as day of how that works. Getting more into this, again, back to the Quant site, Quant Network. just kind of reiteration. All right, there's something else I want to get into, and it's basically Versana. This is going to be like the part 2 of the segment that we have tonight. A little bit more of that detailed coverage from Quant Papa. All right, so maybe at this point you're finally, I guess you say, convinced. In reality, I'm not really trying to convince anybody, and I just present the material. You take it as you will. If Quant's your thing, great. If not, hey, I'm not trying to sell you. It's not financial advice. But I do want to give you something different other than the whole thing of RLN, Citi, JP Morgan, all that stuff. Let's take you into another thing that Quant Papa wants us to share with you guys and so on. And I do as well. Versana. Have you heard of them? Do you know what they are? Well, let's get into that. So for one, Versana is transparency, efficiency, velocity. Versana is an industry-backed data and technology company on a mission to transform the syndicated loan market from front to back. Ooh, I probably don't do as good of a job as I used to, a long time ago when I first started this channel. For some of you guys are the hardcore Maximus crypto fanatics, if there is a few. I'm sure there is a few. I'm sorry. If you notice at the very bottom, I covered Clearpool quite a bit. Did like over 30 videos on it. I might start covering it a little bit more, but here's why. With Clearpool, they are the tokenization of a capital markets ecosystem. The tokenization of DeFi lending. When I see this, I'm like, that reminds me kind of like a Clearpool. But we're obviously talking about Quant, not necessarily Clearpool. But you got to keep in mind some of the statements here. Built by innovators for experts, backed by syndicated loan markets, leading global banks. Again, leading global banks. I had a guy from Will Fix's channel. He said, you mentioned the word global. I'm unsubscribing. I thought, it is what it is, right? It's what happens and so on. Nothing against that guy. But, I got to mention what's presented. It literally says it plain as day, right? So, banks designed by seasoned loan market professionals from all corners of the ecosystem, a financial ecosystem. Remember how we've been talking about this the last 4 or 5 days or 4 or 5 videos? I talked about watch out for the ones that are part of this financial ecosystem because that's where the big money is. How much will your asset as in Q&T be worth in the future? Versana delivers the modern foundation to transform the asset class with innovative solutions. Now, draw your attention to the right side of the screen. You will see your JP Morgans, your Citi. See how it all comes together? Deutsche Bank. Remember Deutsche Bank? You have one of their, their CEO of Deutsche Bank? He's going to be sharing the stage with Gilbert Verdian. And also, what's his name from R3? I mean, come on, guys. Are we not paying attention to how all this big industrial, innovators or institutional innovators are coming in all together at a conference on Halloween? That's crazy. So, yeah, you have Bank of America, JP Morgan, Citi, Credit Suisse, or Credit Suisse. I can't remember how you pronounce it. Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo. I think it's a big deal. Getting more into this, why point this out? Well, again, coming full circle into the whole thing. How long have we been covering the whole thing of Finaxtra? Remember, we did a few deep dives about that. But most importantly, look at the day here. October 10th, 2023. More of that confirmation of what? Citi, syndicated loan data comes to Versana platform. Don't you just love how Quant Papa ties in everything? I mean, I just basically present it. Sometimes I give you guys some of my own research too, of course. But I give credit where credit's due. Quant Papa is the GOAT when it comes to quant deep dive research, right? Think about it. If he has the name Quant Papa, he's going to have to back that up, right? But this platform, Versana, Citi, all that data, what the heck is that? So the source originally comes from Versana, talks about how on October 10th, which was, what is that, guys? 8 days ago? Hold on. I was making sure to check the date. I always have a bill that's due on the 19th. Anyway, I wish I'll just pay it off, after the show. That's besides the point. But the key thing is Versana on the 10th, which would be 8 days ago, announced that the founding investor, which is Citi, is now connected to its transformative digital data platform. I wonder how that is. We talk about interoperability. enabling syndicated loans agented by Citi to be available to Versana's growing subscriber base in real time. Now, when we talk about these crazy market caps and we tie all this stuff in, this is another example of how quant really stands at the forefront. It's like, geez, man, APIs, the tokenization of retail and wholesale CBDCs. Now this whole thing of, syndicated loans agented by who? By Citi. Like, what? Are you kidding me? I mean, not to pull a little John, but what? Yeah, right? Anyway, Citi joins Versana's other three founding investors, Bank of America, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan, in centralizing, and I want to highlight this, global reference, historical transaction, position, and floating rate contract details for the what? Yeah, the 7 trillion syndicated loan and private credit markets. Try to wrap your head around that for a second. Thousands of additional facilities are expected to be available on the platform in the coming months as Versana continues to do what? Scale. We're always talking about scalability. And on board, I love this statement because, when we talk about utility in motion, on board the 3 additional agent banks, which are Deutsche Bank, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, all of which have done what? Invested in Versana earlier this year. Oh, I didn't realize that. Right. Why didn't you realize it? Because it doesn't get shared in the mainstream news. It doesn't. This is why I will keep telling you guys, pay attention to your community-driven news. There's nothing wrong with pay attention to the mainstream news, but we know for the most part, they're only going to look at maybe like the top 5, top 10, if that. And they're going to give you like basically 2 narratives: crashes and when this stuff is really too late. Like, hey, you missed out on Bitcoin when it was 69K on 11/11/2021. But I'm not missing out on my QNT. And if anything, I'm paying more attention to what the heck is going on with QNT. And this is why QNT is tied with XRP for me for my number ones. So back to the whole thing, coming full circle. Check out this quote. With Citi's connectivity to Versana, we continue to deliver on our mandate. Oh, Max, I love how you do this, bro. Man, I always talk about mandates, utility, and motion. Yeah. Sorry, I had to do that because I have been talking about mandates. I've been talking about mandates for the longest time. I'm not impressed with things going live. I'm impressed with a freaking mandate because a mandate says we do get to that path of utility of motion, and we do get to that path towards generational wealth, and we do get to the point where when Moon becomes when Jupiter. Hear me out. Digitalizing mandates, centralizing administrative agents' data on what? One platform. Are we not paying attention to this across the corporate loan asset class? My God. I love you, Quant Papa. You're awesome. You're killing it. You're killing it, my friend. And here's why he's killing it. Plain as day, we're not making this up. The proof is in the pudding. Go to Finextra. Verify it for yourself. So, Versana's founding CEO, Cynthia E. Sachs, says, quote, "We thank Citi for their tireless work in making this launch a reality." Were you even aware of this launch? I'm just saying, right? Most people aren't. This is not me making fun of you. I love and respect you guys. But my thing is this. I pray for blessings among all of us, right? Like what Will Fix is stating. Why is that? Because you know what? We work hard for what we have. We believe that there is a better thing for us. People call it hopium. Call it whatever you want. But when you see confirmation like this, then you know what you hold and you know why you hold it. We are thrilled for Citi to join their founding investor peers in offering a total of what? 1,500 facilities, 900 billion in commitments on the Versana platform to their what? Institutional clients. So again, guys, mandate, institutional clients, 1,500 facilities, 900 billion in commitments, 7 trillion syndicated loan and private credit markets. Oh my gosh, are we not paying attention to the big money? I think we are. And with that said, Let me just double check a few things. I know that was a good part. Maybe I just ended on that, but I got to give you a little bit more because this is good. You know me, I like to pound it home a little bit more. Check this out for a second. From Quant Pop again, taking the screenshot. Versana. Today, we're excited to share the founding investor, Citi, is now connected to our transformative digital platform, like I mentioned before. Citi agented syndicated loans now live on Versana's platform. Also, 3 founding investors, again, Bank of America, Credit Suisse, and JP Morgan. Understanding the whole thing of RLN and understanding this other thing on the bottom of your screen, posted on October 10th, centralizing global reference, historical transaction, position, floating rate contract, details for the 7 trillion syndicated loan plus private credit markets. Again, kind of explain a little bit different, same meaning. All right, what about Versana for a second? Because you may be wondering, I still don't get the whole thing of Versana. Well, let's just take it to the main highlight. Just in case you're like, okay, Max, you talk about Versana, I still don't really get it. Here it is. They are an industry-backed digital data and technology company on a mission to transform the syndicated loan and private credit markets by digitally capturing agent banks' data on a real-time basis. Versana provides unprecedented transparency into corporate loan levels, details, and portfolio positions, bringing efficiency and velocity to the entire asset class. Again, kind of like a different way of explaining it, but pounding it home that much more. Again, it's a centralized platform. Participants are rest assured that they can access loan markets' most credible source of deal information. They have supportive investors. They are, of course, becoming, fast becoming the technology of choice. This is what I love. Because when we talk about, do you have a platform where the thing goes live, you have mandates. Okay, that's great, Max. Will they come back? Yes. They will come back to use the platform. How so? Because it's the platform of choice to usher, the long-awaited modernization of the syndicated loan market. If you have a platform of choice, people will come back. All right. And I share that point or that part, so I'm not going to get back into that. And yeah, this pounds at home just a little bit more about the whole Digital Pound Foundation. So again, this summit, Digital Innovation Summit 2023, this is referenced from the source of the Digital Pound Foundation. We know that Gilbert Verdin used to be part of it. Can you imagine all the fudders a while ago were saying that he got fired? No, he resigned because he already finished his goals of what he would look to accomplish with the Digital Pound Foundation. So you have this example. And, if things were so bad between Gilbert and the Digital Pound Foundation, well, you could sure as the heck fool me with this statement. Digital Pound Foundation's policy lead, Jana Pache, will also be on stage. We know about her. Digital Innovation Summit 2023 with Gilbert Verdin. Again, all these guys that we just referenced earlier. Shows about the panel. We'll blow this up a little bit more. Delegates will hear about the next steps for the Digital Pound. Key speakers, Tony McLaughlin, Emerging Markets from Citi, Tony Mutton, CBDC Director, Bank of England, Gilbert Verdin, Founder and CEO of Quant, and then, of course, Rodney Garrett, Senior Advisor of the Bank of International Settlements. And last but not least, of course, Jan Pache. The key thing is this, an all-star team, like the 92 dream team, if you will, of your digital innovators of in the financial sectors of the world to talk about the Digital Pound. And then what's after that? What about when the Digital Pound goes live? And when we get some of that in motion? I'm just being honest. Quant, people say, oh, this is going to crash to $40. You want to know something? If it did, oh my gosh, I would buy, that would give me like a little over 2.2 or whatever it is, Quant on my $100 per, some people just throw $100 at something. I wouldn't be complaining about that. Talking about a nice DCA, depending on, or not even depending on anything, just like whatever type of budget you have, that's not too bad. All right. I think I'm almost done wrapping this up. Yeah. We talked a lot about RLN. Yeah, let's just share these last few things. So a little bit more from Quant Papa. So a point not mentioned in the report is that 3 of the participants, Barclays, let me just double check you can see this. I don't know if you can. Okay, cool. You can't see it. So Barclays, Lloyds, and Santander are also involved with Finale. UK-based infrastructure targeting token-based wholesale. Again, I was talking about earlier, your wholesale CBDCs and so on. The wholesale cross-border payments using a different model to RLN. So if RLN pursues the same use case, there would be quite a bit of duplication of purpose. But those participating in both projects have a front row seat to the regulatory struggles. Finale is also viewed as one of the potential RLN settlement. Now we're talking about settlements. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we went there. Access alongside an API linked to the real-time gross settlement system, RTGS, and a wholesale CBDC. I'm glad that Quant Papa didn't leave that up. That really, really pounds it home. Getting into this last part, our interpretation is to achieve consistency. Look at this for a second, guys. Pay UK potentially might host a programmability aspect. Pay UK operates several existing UK payment infrastructures, and if hosted, the functionality tokenized deposits, because we talked about that a few days ago, and a CBDC digital pound could share the same programmability infrastructure. Extending that logic, Pay UK could operate the RLN, but we already gave you examples of what will be operating on RLN. So again, that's just from Pay UK side. I don't want you to get confused. We're like, oh, this just could be. Right. Are we following this? Retail tokenized deposits will involve a large number of merchants, participants, which would need to be simulated in the early stages. And again, back to the whole thing to just pound it home more, right? Literally line up all these pegs on the board, right? Like a whack-a-mole or whatever, right? Just pounding it home. The RLM mentioned potentially building on the work from the Bank of England's digital pound project, Project Rosalind. So there you go on regards to that. And then I guess 11 hours ago, this comes from Banco Central Europe. This is going to talk more about the digital pound for a second, or digital euro, excuse me. Our governing, hold on a second. Yeah, the Central Bank of Europe, Banco Central Europe, means the same thing. Our governing council, again, 11 hours ago from LinkedIn, our governing council has decided to move to the next phase of the digital euro project, which will build on the findings collected over the last 2 years. This decision means that we will keep working to make sure our single currency is fit for the future. It does not necessarily mean we will issue a digital euro. The digital euro will complement banknotes. Remember how we talked about, like, it's not replacing, it's complementing? There's another perfect example, meaning Europeans would always have the choice on how to pay. Now, in closing, I believe this is the closing part. Hold on. No, it's not. Almost. Yeah, about 95% there. We're going to play this little video because it did come out 11 hours ago. And this is just, I don't know, this is going to be the icing on the cake. Minute 33 seconds.
Imagine a digital single payment solution that could be used for any kind of payment throughout the euro area. Guess what? It could become a reality. A digital euro. Easy, safe, fast, reliable. Digital money from the European Central Bank at your fingertips whenever you need it. But how would it work? Say you've gone for a meal with a friend and you want to split the bill. Simple. Open the digital euro wallet on your smartphone, check your balance, enter the amount to pay your friend, confirm your transfer. Your friend will receive the money instantly, free of charge. It doesn't matter which country you're in or who your payment provider is. Payments are still made instantly, even offline. It's also easy to use the digital euro at your favorite local shops. Unlock your device, place it on the terminal, authenticate, make the payment online or offline. If you want, you can also use a physical card. What about e-commerce? The digital euro is also available when you're buying something online. Be it digital or physical, a euro will always be a euro and have the same value irrespective of format. Let's embrace the digital era with the digital euro.
Are you not seeing how this is all finally coming together? I hope you do. And in wrapping things up, let's just pull this up. Yeah, here we go. Originally posted December 10th, 2018, because sometimes people just don't understand where that reference comes from. Let me come back into the screen. The 3 lines of code. You know how many times we reference this? Like it says, that's all, guys. That's all. Let's just blow this up a little bit more. Yes. The 3 lines of code. That is all it takes to connect your enterprise to a blockchain. Overledger makes it possible. Can we show you what that looks like? Yeah, we can. Let's blow this up even that much more. Oh, maybe I won on that one. All right. Yeah, that one's actually the biggest I'll make it. So there you see it. This is what is representative in the code. And look what it shows here, guys. You know, some people are saying that I'm a liar and I make stuff up. I'm not making up anything. I have no reason to make up anything. Look what it shows here. I mean, this is coding. Import from Overledger SDK as in software development kit, if you're wondering what those abbreviations mean, from @quantnetwork/Overledger SDK. Look what it mentions on line 3. You have const Overledger equals new Overledger SDK map ID. I mean, this is, I believe, I don't know if it's C++, it might be C#, but anyway, you go further down, DLTS, we know distributed ledger technologies. Look what it states there: DLT Bitcoin, DLT Ethereum, DLT what? Ripple. So when I mention that example, and I'll later on, I'll try to, I guess you could say, I'll try to record right from Facebook, because you can't just, I don't know. I guess I could use a plugin to download a video, but it's kind of a pain. I'll try to record a different way. There's a guy on Facebook that has the Overledger demo of showing the Overledger switching to the XRPL instantaneously, and we share that one point before, but it's kind of I want to get one that's a little bit better quality. All right, so in the future I'll try to show you that. But again, guys, right in the code, DLT what? Ripple. 3 lines of code, 1 on the top, then you have some of these other ones, right? But for the most part, 3 lines of code. This was what makes it attractive for institutions to build on Overledger. They don't want to have to go through all the technical stuff. They want it to be seamless. They want it to be immutable. They want it to be future proof, right? As Gilbert Verdian would say. So in closing, that concludes our quant coverage of the night. And at the end of the day, what are you choosing to do with quant? Are you getting flooded by people that just, I don't know, have opinions? I mean, of course, I'm sharing my opinion, but I'm also sharing research. I'm taking that deep dive to show you some of the things that, you know, quant is connected with. This has honestly been probably, I would say, about a 6-part series at this point, of tying everything in regards to RLN, JP Morgan, Citi. Then we give you some of these other examples. We'll continue to give you more examples, right? Big up to the one and only Quant Papa once again. You know, we can't necessarily do daily quant coverage. It might seem like it, but we definitely get into it. So thank you again, Quant Papa. Thank you for staying up and watching this. My gosh, right? He's in the audience. And I do appreciate you guys too being here. We are now going to get into towards the end of our coverage. We have some community driven news. I guess you could say it's kind of getting towards WrestleMania at this point. I want to share a piece with you guys here in a bit from Lewis Jackson. So we do have a little bit of XRP tonight. I know it wasn't tagged, but you know, he talks about how high will XRP go. Obviously, Will Fix was talking about that a lot. So even Lewis Jackson is hopping on the whole, you know, hopium bandwagon. I mean that in a nice way. I love Lewis Jackson. I have nothing but respect for Lewis Jackson, but he has his own personal prediction. That one's about 12 and a half minutes. We'll play it in here in a bit. So if you guys want some Ripples XRP, we're going to get to that. Yeah, we're going to have a little bit of that WrestleMania tonight. So yes, smash that like for some WrestleMania. We're going to get into, I feel enthused. I feel all right. I went and saw my best friend yesterday, Mike Wool. And it's nice to get out and see some of your buddies for a change. And it was pretty cool stuff. Anyway, I don't even know if Mike is watching tonight, but if you are watching, Mike, appreciate you. Shout out to all the Mikes, Mike Cornwell, all the other Mikes, right? Crypto Mike, Elon Muff. If your name is a Mike, you're a pretty cool guy for the most part. I mean, be honest, is there any bad Mikes out there? I was thinking about that earlier. I'm like, not really, you know? Anyway. All right, let's see here. I'm going to turn off the branding for quants. And I'm going to turn back on my crypto Twitter thing. And in regards to Quant Papa, real quick, please give him a follow. He's at Quant_Papa_. Okay? Because he has a new Twitter. All right, let's catch up on the comments. I'm going to double check to see if anybody's watching from Will Fix's side. He's got about 5 people there. I do want to thank you guys that are there. So there's about 5, but I think some of those guys lost. So Joseph, producer, Third Son, Mike, and G-Ride, and Bobby Lorette. Thank you to Tim Shea, who's monitoring, what was going on over there. Tim might have left for the night because of the East, he's on the East. All right, let's read a few more comments. Let's see how we're doing. I really hope you guys appreciated some of the content tonight. I don't know. Some people, maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe they just want to look at how gray I've been getting lately. I have been getting really gray lately. What's up with that? All right. Let's see. Oh God, my old comments are so bad. I'm talking about what's going on here. This is so bad. Hold on. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I forgot. There's apparently not just number 1 and 2. It goes all the way up to number 7. My God, I'm just reading that now. Anyway, X marks the spot. How does this man translate Japanese so fluently? All right. Your right kidney is failing? Well, okay. This is where you have the conversation with Cool Cat. So he's going to help give you some good advice on how to fast. That's cool. When Jasmy RTX 4090 PC. Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, well, you and I are going to have to game it up and dominate, right? I do look forward to playing some games with the Quant Papa for real. Like, maybe we'll set up a time where we can game it up sometime. That'd be fun. I mean that, man. Like, for real. And knowing that, I get to finally hear your voice for a change. And I know you say, you don't speak the greatest of English. Hey, man, you even being able to speak more than one language, you got most Americans beat. Let's just be honest. All right. Let's see here. Let's read this. Bedtime on the East, night all. No problem. Good night to Gerald. That was a while ago. My God. Yeah, Max, that was an hour and a half ago. Great job on that. I know. It's bad. I am very quanfy with my quant. If you guys wonder where those expressions come from, that's where it comes from. All right. Quant Papa, when max Inu token? Never. I don't know about never. I don't know. I don't even know how to go about that. I will state this. I was talking, I think, with Will Fix about this. So I was saying, as you guys know, I'm looking, the end game, right? When we get that generational wealth, I do want to make 2 video games. I think I made that clear in the past. And while I was thinking, I was like, you know what, Will, how cool would it be? Because, we've seen cases of Dr. Lehman Barrett from Hedera. You could tell he's also a gamer, right? And I'm looking at, like, I think Hedera eventually ends up creating like a premier anti-cheat solution, like a real anti-cheat where you can verify through Hashgraph, right? That consensus protocol, of people like who are hackers and so on. Can you imagine how awesome that would be? We talk about institutional money. I know this is like a little extended coverage, but hear me out on this. We talk about institutional money. What about like, triple A game developers, your Activisions, your Microsofts, your EAs, and then finally, imagine playing something like Call of Duty or Battlefield, and finally being able to play it where the days of hackers rest in peace. Like, it's just, you're done. You're done. Like, there's no way around it anymore because, we talk about transactions per second, scalability, and so on. Boom. Verify it. That's scumbag. I hate to call them that. It has a little, and they're hacking. You know what I mean? And sorry, if you do hack at an online video game on a first-person shooter, you basically just told the world how big your what is. Sorry. All right. It's going off the kilter, but it's true. Like, come on, man. You're going to hack at an online video game? How pathetic are you? Yes, that's the one thing I get very upset about. And some guy headshotted me, 360 no-scope headshot from 5,000 yards away across the map. And then they headshot not just me, but like my whole team in a matter of 20 seconds. That's just ridiculous. Like, you might want to bust out the micrometer to measure, anyway, enough about that. Some of my frustration in first-person shooters, obviously. But why do I mention that? Well, if it wasn't for me playing first-person shooter back in 2022, I never would have met Will Fix. Funny how that all works. We came together through gaming back in Medal of Honor Allied Assault, and then we came back together through crypto. That's cool. What does that mean? You guys basically grew up is what it means. Well, we still love playing some of these games, right? All right, let's see here. I'm going to read this from X marks the spot. You got it. Kudos. You inspired me to go further than 3 days. Oh, in regards to the fast. Well, cool, Cat. I'm glad you're trying to share some useful information. Yeah, I done water fasting back when I was about 18, and it is brutal. So, cool, Cat. Shout out to you for sticking with that. That's got to be tough. X marks the spot. Thanks for looking to it. All right, that's a conversation with you guys, which is cool. Let's go further down. All right. You got it on a 20X. Okay, cool. You know what? This might be the one for you. And obviously, we're going to talk. We always talk. Me and Mike are homies. We always talk. All right. Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. Let's see here. Elon Musk, the one and only. He says Jasmy needs to be looked at. What? I almost thought I had may have tags IDK moment. We don't need any more of that. Don't need any more of that right now. I'm not going to even try to, I don't know. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Nope, not going to do it. Anyway, ADHD. What up, man? Good to see you, Mr. ADHD. By the way, Mike Cornwall also has ADHD. Max, why do you keep pointing that out? I don't know. You're the one that mentioned it. If anything, it's kind of helping you. You're killing it as a businessman, right? What up, everyone? Hold everything you can, at least till you see a profit of some kind. It's just not worth something. Right. It's not financial advice, but that is good advice. You can literally get 5K Jasmy for $15. I don't know what you're talking. Oh, 5,000 Jasmy as in the tokens. I was like, I can't get 5K, like $5,000 worth of Jasmy for 50. Never mind. Again, not a little bit of lack of sleep, and now I have to be careful because I might get max tags IDK and I read it the wrong way. And again, if you want to get a laugh, you can go to where it shows the Japanese guy and he's like scam, and then it shows Roddy Dangerfield and a laughing emoji. If you want to get a laugh, it's in the recorded video section. It came out roughly a week or two ago. Okay. All right. Let's read this from Elon Musk. Jasmy just voiced off the bottom, he thinks. And this is over an hour ago. So I'm so far behind. Maximus, from your lips to God's ears. Thank you. X marks the spot. I'm done buying Jasmy. My wife will spank me hey, maybe I'll buy a couple bucks worth. Is that your wife in the picture, or is that like your daughter or something? Or maybe I'm asking too many questions. I'm sorry. All right. When we get more clarification on Jasmy's chain, I would say probably by the end of the year. We know that by the beginning of next year, I think it's until March, be more towards that migration and so on. As soon as I get more info myself, I'd be glad to share it more with you guys. I always want to keep you guys informed when it comes to Jasmy. No emotions in investing, just research and patience. Yeah, I agree. When Jasmy hits $1, you can tell that story to your next wife. Oh, geez. What do you guys call it? Not life-changing money, but wife-changing money. That's so bad. All right. Selma Fudd. Hey, man. You're probably not even here anymore. But if you are, I want to say a big up to the brother Selma. Selma Fudd. What up, Max Dyor Research? My crypto of choice is and always will be XRP. Yep. It's still tied for my number one. X marks the spot. Is sold on quant. No more fiat, darn it. You need a loan. Damn, X quant is what you want. All right. Arbitrum has more TVL according to the one and only one. Total value lock. That's right. I would choose it over Polygon and Optimism. Here's the thing. So I was introduced Arbitrum probably like at the beginning of the year, something like that. And they kind of came out of nowhere. I do need to research it more. I'm glad that you know about it, though. All right, let's see here. I think I'm starting to get caught up because I can see the timestamps. All right, let's read this from Robert Williams. Not financial advice, but if you're young, 20s or 30s, and want to retire in the next bull run, what's a rough guess how much you need to have invested to make this happen and live normally? Oh, man. It depends on the project. Let me know. What are you leaning more towards getting? Because that also plays a factor too. Like I could talk your ear off about Jasmy, for instance. We know that you could buy a whole boatload of Jasmy. You could buy, I guess currently speaking, I mean, what is it, guys? You can buy $100,000 worth for $302. I mean, how cool is that? It did. Geez, Mike, you probably are up right now. I just realized that. If you bought at 2.9, you're up on your leverage. Mike is up on his leverage. Raised the roof. If he bought at 2, whatever it was, you bought bottom. So cool. Shout out to Mike. He's making money right now. Anyway. All right. So to get back to what you're talking about, right? My thing is that it depends on what you're going after. I mean, if you're like, well, I have a budget, I can, I can get like, 100 QNT. Let's give you an example of 100 QNT. If I can pull it up. Jeez, what's wrong with me? So that's like $85.40. Let's just round it off to 86. So 86, and it also depends on how long you want to hold this too. So if you just want to, you're like, I just want to get 10 quant, I'm gonna hold it to like, I don't know, 50,000 or something like that. So that's $860. Let's say you want it, you're like, man, I'm all in on quant, bro. Well, I don't know. Let's say you get, I don't know if you get like 200. Let's just say you get like 150. Well, that's like $12,900 worth of quant. But 150 times like 10,000 a quant, I see it minimum going to that personally. That's just my own belief, not financial advice. Well, that puts you at like $1.5 million worth of quant. You get what I'm saying? What if you're like, nah, I don't want to hold it for that. I want to hold my 150 quant for, I don't know, man. Like, let's say you're like, I'm going to hold it to $75,000 a quant. That puts you at $11,250,000 just off a quant on an investment of $12,900. That's what I'm talking about. Now, some people will say, well, you might as well just go with XRP, Max, because, for XRP, you can buy, and this is a good statement. This is why I state like both of them are kind of like, tied. Let's say you don't have an XRP investment or position. You buy 0.48. We'll just round out to 49 cents, all right? 0.49 currently. Of course, it's going to change. And you times that, let's say, for instance, we'll just round it off to like 13,000, all right? You know, I'm using that example. I mean, I know that's a lot of money. So let's see here. Oh, shoot, 0.49. Let's say you go the will fix route. He said he had like 50,000 XRP. See, that's a lot. That's 24,500. All right. So let's say, for instance, you're like, I'm not going to do 24,500 worth of XRP, like dollars worth. Let's say, for instance, you do 25,000 XRP, which is still a lot of XRP. So 25,000 XRP times 0.49. Okay, now you got like 12,250. All right, so now you got the 25,000 XRP. All right, let's compare that to quant. Like we said, 10,000 a QNT. Let's say you don't hold till 10,000 in XRP. You hold till 1,000. So you take that. And let's see here. I mean, that's basic math. What am I talking about? That right there, that's $25 million worth of XRP. Which one is the better one? And that's my thing. I'm not going to be a maxi of just one. Like, I'd rather be. I love Quant Papa, right? But you said you're just more on QNT. But I'd rather be wrong than right on this. You know what I mean? Like, or I don't want. What am I saying? I don't want to take a chance of. Like, it's a form of FOMO. It's the fear of missing out on XRP. So just on both of those, I mean, like on XRP and QNT, wow. I mean, that's a lot. Now let's say you don't even do 13,000. Let's say, I don't know, XRP. Just like I just want to get $1,000 worth of XRP. What is that again? 0.49. Kind of, you gotta keep in mind. I mean, I know I could do the basic math right now, but also kind of get tired. All right, so on this particular example, yeah, so roughly for $500, you can get like 1,000 XRP. All right, and then let's say you held that till, I don't know. Let's just give a different figure. Let's say you held it to $750. Well, that's $750,000 worth of XRP. I mean, there's all sorts of different examples. And as far as when all of this happens, Mr. Robert Williams, the way I look at it is, I can't tell you exactly when it happens, but I'm leaning more towards the end of 2025 going into 2026. Like I think there's a lot of indicators to show that that's the utility run. The examples we gave for QNT earlier, if you were watching that, and I know this is a really long show and I need to wrap it up. I do apologize to you guys in that regard. But the examples we gave, like mandates, that's the terminology I've been looking for. Lionel Richie, that's an inside joke. But yeah, that is kind of like Lionel Richie, like, hello, is it me you're looking for? The hello, is it me you're looking for is, for me, mandates. When I start seeing that terminology, finally starting to see that terminology, mandates, because it says flip of the switch. You have to flip this because it's a freaking mandate. So I don't know what to tell you. I know that you, like you said, like, if you're in your 20s or 30s, I would just say this: buy it while it's still cheap. You may think quant is expensive. It's, oh my gosh. I mean, we know, at least I do, right? Quant Papa does. Mike Cornwell does. Some of you other guys do, right? Selmo Fudd. Shout out to some of the other guys. Maybe Edward Vincent. Your Tim Shays. You know where it's going to go. So if you know where it's going to go, then maybe get a little bit of quant and XRP. We gave you some examples. So based off of those two ones, you can see how you'd be like a multi-millionaire just off of those two. And of course, I'm a big fan of excellence. So for me, I mean, I'm into 52 different projects. Out of those 52, unfortunately, I think 12 of them are a meme. See how bad that is? So in reality, I'm probably into about 38 to 40 really good projects, all utility. And so, yeah, I'm well diversified. So if any of these fire on, not even on all cylinders, just on half of them, I'm more than good. You know, if you're the type of person like you're like Will Fix, where Will has mentioned to me that he's into about roughly like 7, maybe 8. But man, he did a good job on that. He came into XRP. I asked him, I said, Will, you got 50,000 XRP and 50,000 Stellar? He's like, yeah. I'm like, no problem. Anyway, I'm like, good God. I'm like, you didn't come into that like, after the 2/3 ruling in the SEC, right? He's like, no, I came into it like, he doesn't remember exact dates, but basically 2022. So if it was like summer 2022, because I asked him, I said, like, when around 2022? And I was like, oh, okay. That's like 32 cents. So for Will, I mean, he's ready in the profits. Is Will looking to cash out that XRP and just take a little bit of profit on it? No, it's a long-term hold. So my rough guess, back to this question, of how much crypto you need to have invested. Again, man, I just want to state that it simply depends on what you're looking to throw at it. So here, let me give you just one more example before we kind of wrap it up. All right. Hold on. Here's a good example, because sometimes you just need some visuals. So I would highly suggest you go over here. This is free. It doesn't cost you anything. And you make an account like on CMC. And if you don't like CMC, you're like, CMC is the devil because of CZ. Okay, fine. I'm just using this as an example. So here's like my watch list. You pay attention to like XRP. You say to yourself, all right, I'm convinced that XRP is generational wealth. All right. Well, make a spreadsheet or something and say to yourself, all right, here's my budget. I'm just going to throw out an example, right? I'm not saying you have 10,000 throw around, but let's say for instance, it's let's just say 5,000. Okay. So then you decide, okay, well, do I get $1,000 worth of XRP? And if so, then do you come in at these price levels? Okay. Then you go through this list, like there's Cardano. I don't really suggest that. I mean, I have a bunch of Cardano, but your Doge coins, like I would avoid that. Polygon, say to yourself, is it worth getting throwing money at Polygon, even though it's super cheap right now compared to like where it's going to be in the future? Do you make a position of Polygon? And if so, based on your budget, is it worth getting into Polygon if your goals are like, well, I want to retire early by, I don't know, 2026 or something like that, right? Well, maybe you should just allocate more towards like Stellar or something like that. So here's an example in regards to Stellar. Stellar's at 10 cents. Notice that with Stellar, right, and I'm not going to click on it right now, but they have a max supply that's basically half of what Ripple's XRP is. But if I own Ripple's XRP, I should own some Stellar. So here's an example. Stellar is roughly, oh my God, almost just about 5 times cheaper than buying XRP. You know what I'm saying? So you could say to yourself, well, I put $1,000 into XRP, which is going to get, the certain amount of coins that you're going to go with. And then you say to yourself, well, what about Stellar? I could own for that amount of $1,000, like I could own a heck of a lot more Stellar, right? Like basically 5 times the amount, if I'm reading that right. Cosmos is an absolute buy. Maybe you buy like a few handfuls of that. Why is that? Well, let's say you bought, I don't know, I'm going to give an example. What is that, 621 right now? That's a good price, by the way. So Cosmos is solid. Investor Place always recommends Cosmos. I know maybe Cool Cat gives me criticism. I don't talk about it enough. I do talk about it, but maybe I don't put enough emphasis on it. So 621, we'll just ran off to 625 because of the fees and stuff. So Cosmos 625, and let's say you wanted to buy, I don't know, let's say you bought 50 of these. Okay, so it's $312. All right, let's say you're like, nah, I want to do more than that. I want to do, let's just round off to 100. So 600 times 625, $625. Okay, so you got 100 of these things. And it's like, some people are stating that Cosmos, Cool Cat, a few other people, like you're looking at like $1,000 a Cosmos. Is that a better return on investment? Well, let's say that they're half wrong. All right. I'm not saying that they are. Let's say it goes to like $500. So 500, that's $50,000 off of Cosmos. Is it more worthwhile to get into Cosmos? You know what I mean? Compared to just more Stellar or more XRP? I think the answer would be more Stellar, more XRP. I'm just saying. So there's that. But if you want to be diversified, right? You're the type of person you want to be well-rounded. How about, just real quick, what about your Hederas, right? You could buy like, let's just round off to 5 cents. So 0.05. You buy 10,000 Hedera for $500. You hold your Hedera till it goes to, $10. Well, that's easy math. You can figure out what that is. Was that like 100,000? So $500 investments, is that. So again, you're getting more close to, maybe the amount you have of investing 5,000, right? So what are you currently at, like roughly 3 or 4? Then you go down to your quant. We already gave that example. So I would just have some kind of BSV. I mean, even though it's up, I bought as low as $25. What about BSV? Let's say you bought, even if you came in right now, right? BSV. Let's say you came in, it was like $42. You buy a handful of these. So you buy, I don't know. Let's say you buy 20 BSV for $840. You're totally convinced that, you know what, this Cool Cat crypto guy, he's right. Most people are wrong. And Craig Wright is not fake Toshi. He's the real, this is the real Bitcoin. This is what the Black Rocks are investing into because it really has utility. 100,000 plus TPS, could scale up to 1 million plus. All this stuff. Same circulating supply as same supply as BTC, all that stuff. You look at it from a perspective kind of like quant and BTC, the scarcity, and you say to yourself, I want to, what was it? 42. I already had on the calculator. Sorry. Times 20. Yeah, that's right. $840. So 20. And then you treat this one kind of like how people should have treated the original Bitcoin. And you say to yourself, well, original Bitcoin BTC went to 69K. What if BSV goes to, I'm just going to throw an example, right? Like 30K. Wow. $30,000 times, 20. That's $600,000 just off of BSV. I mean, I know it sounds like a crazy scenario. So now you're pushing more towards your 5,000. I mean, there's graph here. I mean, it just all depends on your budget. But the key thing is recognizing the all-time lows. And here's a perfect example real quick when we monitor all-time lows. I need to update my portfolio. I forgot to add Flare to my portfolio list. So you won't see it there, but I do own some. So Flare is even at more towards the bottom, right? So let's say, for instance, you monitor some of this stuff. You have a watch list. You add it with a star. And then you go over here and you're like, well, this Max guy is talking about the all-time highs. Well, this was up to 8 cents. It's basically, that happened when? January 9th, 2023. And, it's 89% down since then. All right. Well, I like to buy the bottom. I want to be like Mr. Muff. All right. So you recognize, okay, October 18th. Oh, wow. It was, it's got new all-time lows. But then you say to yourself, well, maybe that's bad. Or maybe you should take a chance on it. So on this one, you could buy 100,000 of these for $830. You could buy 100,000 of this. Well, we know Flare, for instance, allows basically smart contract functionality for XRP, as far as like the retail side of things. I'm not talking about your R3 institutional side of things. That's a whole different way of looking at it. So you buy 100,000 of these. I'm not saying you do this, but this is an example. Everybody wants to buy the all-time low, and then they want to sell high. So even if you went to previous all-time highs, which is roughly 8 cents, how would that look? Well, let's add this up. That's only $8,000. But if you say to yourself, well, you know what? I see this becoming like, for instance, it's going to go to $2. Well, guess what? You basically invested $830, and this is now worth $200,000. That's not bad. Is it better to invest in Flare at that particular price level than just going with XRP? I think this is, and I know we haven't seen Brian Dowley around for a while, but I think he's done scenarios like this where this is where he's all in on XRP and just in XLM, because he looks at it from the point of where he's going to be at in the future, and it adds up on the calculator that it's just multi millions if you just put towards the focus on these particular two or three, compared to just being super diversified. But some people do this with the ISOs. That they'll do HBAR, they'll do XLM, XRP, Quant, maybe DAG, Energy Web Token, stuff like that, and then they're good. They just continue to stack on it, and then whatever fires off during that time is what fires off, and they're like more than good. But you have to have a plan. I can't just tell you, hey, go ahead and throw some money at this and go throw money at this. I want you to go in here and you pay attention to the all-time lows, and you research the project of where you see it going, and then come to your own conclusion of your expected price targets and when that's going to happen. Pay attention to mandates. Anyway, I that was a long explanation. Hopefully that kind of gives you an idea and helps you a little bit. And I do want to thank you, Robert Williams, for attending our show and being a supporter. Okay? Thank you. All right. I do agree with this. Don't be a maxi on any project. Let's see here. Quant is not here to replace XRP. It's here to complement XRP. It can give XRP access to more liquidity. All right. Let's see here. Quant Papa is really passionate about this stuff. It's a buy and sell. Only way the price goes up is if liquids stay in the network. ILP only keep 3 SEC value on the network. That's why ODL, on-demand liquidity, now known as Ripple Payments, never affected price when it grows 16x. I will state this. I'm always going to call it ODL. I don't care if it's called the new thing. Kind of like me going to Dairy Queen, and they call it the Arctic Rush, and I refuse to call it the Arctic Rush. I would always call it the Mr. Misty. Never forget that guy. Was his comedian Bob Marley? He's like, "You listen here, Mr. Misty, Mr. Peanut Butter Parfait. I did not storm the beaches of Normandy to have some snot-nosed punk like you tell me it's called the Arctic Rush." I know I'm going on left field on it, but want to know something? Dairy Queen gave in, and then guess what? It's now called, or at least for the last few years, they got rid of that stupid Arctic Rush and they brought it back, Mr. Misty. So yeah, I'm still going to call it ODL, right? Because that's what I known it to be called. I'm not calling it Ripple Payments, call it ODL, on-demand liquidity. All right, going further down, it'll be huge. Not saying XRP is bad, it's good tech. Okay, cool. JP Morgan owns Ethereum. All right. Blackwood doesn't care what surpasses it as long as each goes away. It's all good with him. That's all good with a lot of people, right? Yeah. All right. Cody Core, Maximum Max. Good to see you, Mr. Cody Core. Technically, the first, you and Todd are our first members ever, technically. X marks the spot at 8:54, almost an hour ago. I can't go to bed unless I listen to your channel, Maximus. Well, you know what? I kind of appreciate that. That's cool. I mean, thank you. I could tell that you appreciate the content because you watch the recording and the live, and that does mean a lot. Whether you're catching snowflake or I don't know if that's your kid or your spouse. I don't know. I don't know how old you are. Whoever that is, whether it's her catching snowflakes or watching this channel, we do appreciate you. All right, Julian Cato, welcome back. I'm working a second job to load up on some of QNT before things pop off. It's going to hit 5K and then bull run for sure. Julian Cato, when you talk like that, that shows me your passion, your drive. That's so incredibly awesome, and we have stated numerous times that in the future, we're going to have I guess you could say like a celebration. It's a, I guess you could say like a crypto victory celebration, utility run celebration, or what you want to call it, where, Boomer After he always joke around, party at Boomers, right? But in the future, we're going to have like, I guess you could say like a Maximus crypto, and maybe even a will fix thing where we come together and we have like an event or something like that. And I just want to give you that formal invitation. I would love to be able to look you in the eye and shake your hand and say, hey, congratulations. Like, you worked your butt off. You worked a second job. I remember technically at one point last year, I was doing like 3, 2 officially. And like, I guess you could say taking care of my dad and doing a crypto show. I guess you could say that's 4, but I mean, it was a lot of work, man. And it was tough. And shout out to Mike Cornwell. He always says, tough times create tough men. Just, yeah, I look forward to, if you want to come to it. Some people are like, I don't want to meet people off the internet. It's okay. Whatever the case be, whether you show up to it or not, here's my formal invitation to you. If you do accept it, I look forward to someday shaking your hand and congratulating you for getting through these tough times and recognizing, things like Q&T. It's awesome, to see people that appreciate not only the content. I mean, it's not me. I'm just a content creator, but it's recognizing that people have hope, that they believe that there's got to be a better way out. And this stuff that we're talking about all the time is a better way out. That, like our parents, I mean, some of you guys are older, someone passed away. They had hopes and dreams that we'll have a better life. We are going to enter into the 4th industrial revolution, and it's going to be the biggest wealth transfer in history. And that's no joke. It's like, are we going to be on the right side of history? I think so. I think that innovation, if history has taught us anything, and I just killed a spider anyway, if not a nice spider, okay, one of those ones that's going to bite me. Anyway, if history has taught us anything, that it's innovation that prevails, okay? That's the bottom line. You realize the innovation. And yeah, I'd say more than 5K, a lot higher than that. But, if that's your goal, go stick with your gut. You got to do what's good for you. So, all right, Texas Crypto, welcome. 5K would be great. My bag is sitting at 200 for Q&T. That's awesome. I'm not to 200 yet. That's my goal. So congratulations, already being at that. You probably came into Q&T maybe years ago. I don't know. X marks the spot's like, to heck with Max. It's time for me to go. I can't blame you. 9:11 p.m. All right, let's see here. We're going to read the last bit of comments. Had a namer named Mike. Awesome guy. Nice. River, always good content, Max. Thank you. Max Papa, playing some games. Yeah, we're going to look forward to that in the future. ICFU, I need to clarify that there are 2 Bifrost networks, one on Polygon and one on the L1 mainnet, built on cross-chain interoperability with CCCP, kind of like CCCP. Nothing like having interoperability with the Communist Party of China, right? All right. Kind of like CCIP for chain. That's a bad joke anyway. All right. So I really need to get towards the bottom of the comments because we need to kind of wrap things up here in a little bit. Welcome back, Binary Links. I love that avatar, Is 50 Q&T enough? Would you sell your whole bag? Huh? Keep some for 2020 or 2030. I don't know. That's me doing like an impersonation. That's not disrespect, but that's kind of like how I view this. You know what I mean? Like, you gonna tell me that, huh? You're gonna sniff the hopium? No, I'm kidding. Best to have a bit of both. So, all right, 50 Q&T. I would say that's more than enough. I mean, we all have different goals. Will you sell your whole bag, keep for some for 2030? Yeah, my thing is, there's ones I kind of marry, Q&T, XRP, maybe even Stellar. And so I look at Q&T at one point, once we achieve these goals of the price of, where I feel as though like we're going to get to. It's like, I'm going to earn some interest on that. Why would I want to sell that? Kind of like if somebody wins the lottery, it's like, why are you going against the principal? You just, earn some interest. Anyway, don't miss out on BSV. Yeah, I was glad I bought it at $25. So we are two channels that help each other out. We're a unified channel. I don't know if you knew about that, but that's okay. But like to welcome you. Nonetheless, we do daily live shows. Will Fix specifically comes on Tuesdays and Thursdays for a live show. And of course, he uploads content to here to Maximus Crypto. I also upload exclusive content over there. And I'm going to make an announcement in regards to that. So here's the thing. It doesn't really help me at all to upload XRP content to Maximus Crypto because it's not going to really get a lot of views and maybe get a couple subscribers at that. I get more value. You guys get more value. It just makes more sense to that channel has an identity, and that identity is XRP, obviously. And so it makes more sense for me, like if I chop up anything in regards to XRP, put it over there. If I do QNT and stuff like that, obviously over here, or Jasmy, Stellar. But yeah, I mean, you could say that me and Will are partners, and we're very enthusiastic about talking about these things. He's got a great community over there. A lot of those guys are part of our community. It's just, we're kind of like a unified channel, if you will. We try to help each other out. I've been friends with Will Fix for 21 years. He's part of DPG, for crying out loud, our gaming group. So Will's like a big brother to me. I love him like family. It's just, there was a time where we didn't talk for a few years because like real life got in the way. But we reconnected, and we're really just so ecstatic about it. So it's pretty cool. I'd like to welcome you, though, Mr. Captain Cornship. That's a cool name. Hope to see more of you. And I know it's, maybe you're like, hey, it's not Will Fix. I'm not going to watch. I understand. I get some of that, but I try to provide content from an educational point of view. I'm not a school teacher this year. I'm a former school teacher. I've also done other things in the past as well, but I try to bring my aspect to what I can. Will's an overnight sensation. I mean, I was telling him that like he got monetized in 2 days, and he's probably going to get to like 10,000 subscribers by probably first or second week of next month, November. That's insane. So yeah, it's awesome what he's doing, and a lot of people really love his content. There's a few people, there's flutters and stuff like that. This is what comes with the territory, but people love his content, and he brings, like, it's the saying goes, like a breath of fresh air. I don't care if I do mention this at this point. I believe as though it's like there's a certain amount of people that go watch somebody like Crypto Hulk, and they don't like that negativity and the toxicity, and it's like they want to go someplace where somebody's going to provide a certain perspective of how I guess you could say, connect the dots or share their own point of view. It's like Will Fix is kind of like the opposite of that toxicity, that narcissist way of going about things. Don't get me wrong. I think Crypto Hulk, when he focuses on the research, he's awesome. He kills it. Like I still am subscribed to Crypto Hulk, and I'll watch him. Like if he does a recorded video, and he's just like, hey guys, check this out. Wayback Time Machine, Ripple, Ripple.ru, Ripple with Russia, Ripple with China. I got confirmation. Okay, cool. Because in that, it doesn't show his ego. It just shows the research, and that's awesome. But if you watch the live show, it's like it's 90% the ego. Will Fix, say what you want, whether you like him or not. He is a breath of fresh air for all those people that might have been watching somebody like Hulk. They're like, hey, you know what? I could watch this guy. He provides great content. He's not toxic. He's all about positivity. There's nothing negative about him. You could attack Will Fix and basically be like, somebody be telling, hey man, you're smoking hope. you're like hopium, you're smoking crack, and you'd be like, yeah, well, maybe I am, take a hit off that hopium. Like, who does that? Nobody really does that, like maybe I do it a little bit. I mean, even I'm kind of guilty about sometimes, like, hey man, like, you don't like that negativity, but anyway, shout out to Will, man. We'll see him back here tomorrow, because tomorrow's Thursday, and I will try to have a backup plan just in case if the internet went out, but I don't really see that happening. So, but yeah, we're gonna do a show. It's a dual simulcast. This channel, his channel, and then he'll provide content, and of course I'll let him speak. Right? It's not like that, right? I'm not trying to interrupt anybody. But maybe we might even have a back and forth conversation. We'll see what happens. And then, of course, as you guys know, I cover other things other than just XRP. We'll talk more about what's going on in the market, or maybe it's Stellar, maybe it's HBAR, Casper. We got a lot of the things we talk about here, right? Other than just XRP. Okay. Or maybe I provide more XRP, maybe you guys tag me on certain things, right? And you're like, hey, Max, you got to check out this. This is something that, Will Fix didn't see in regards to XRP, or neither did you. Can you address it? We always do stuff like that. All right. So it looks like you guys are getting hungry. Cordell Lewis, do you think they'll bring back the McRib? My life was ruined when they got rid of the McRib. That's good stuff, man. I think they'll bring it back. I know it sounds like a corny thing to say. Maybe it's because I had different taste buds. But the McRib of the 80s and 90s, I don't know why. It just tasted a lot better than the McRib now. But maybe it's just because I'm younger at that time and everything tastes better back then. I don't know. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Same here. Probably sell a little more than half. Okay. ICP. Yeah, don't think I dismiss it, Danilo. AKA Yer, right? Good to see you, Danilo. Any thoughts on Sologenic? Sologenic is good. And we talked about this on the Twitter space. By the way, there will be a Twitter space on Friday, if you guys are wondering about that. So Friday is going to be a busy day. Twitter space and the live show. But Sologenic, in our Twitter space, we covered the whole thing in regards to, it doesn't seem like a lot's going on now, but it's one of those that you buy and you hold because of that XRP connection. And we did an outline about how, like, it's basically at bottom, how when you see more of that utility in motion, what will that do for Sologenic? I'm not going to talk you guys' ears off about it because we're almost going to 4 hours, and it really is like WrestleMania at this point. So I did have some XRP saved. I'm not going to get into it. Some of you guys are like, no, Max, you should. There's almost 30 people. You should just get into it. Nope. I need to get off of here. If I don't, I won't be able to have time to chop some things up. I also need to get a bite to eat because my stomach is really growling. But tomorrow, I'll just give you a little preview, or you can go watch this on your own. I'm not going to do it tonight because this is like 12 and a half minutes. But it's Crypto Lulu, and it says, how high will XRP go? His personal prediction is pretty good. And if anything, I'll have to have Will take a look at it, Will Fix, and see what he thinks about it. Maybe he does gives his own 2 cents and so on. Because, Will does a good job of explaining why he believes the way he believes. And, some, how it goes. Some people call us shillers and stuff like that. My thing is this, I think Mike Cornwell is right. It's one thing to be a shill where you just, say, hey, this is why, I share this, and it's just basically like you just do it. You don't really provide any solid deep dives or information, but I want Will to look at that. I want to see what he thinks about it because it's good. And we'll share that with you guys on the live tomorrow. So look forward to it, and we'll go from there. With that said, we're going to close it out. Please smash that like if you haven't done so. Hit the bell notification. Make sure you subscribe to not just me over here at Maximus Crypto, but also Will Fix. And just a double check on things. How is Will Fix doing over there? 5 people watching at the moment. When he's live, man, I mean, I told him, I was just like, do you realize that you can just keep getting more and more popular with your live stream? So Thursday of last week was his first live. He had 102 on his live stream. Combined both live streams, it was like 165. Yeah, 165. And then yesterday, he went from 102, I think, to like 150 something, right? So, I mean, I think it was 155. So he literally went up like almost half again, right? So I said, yeah, keep your head up. You're doing really good. I mean, I would kill for that, right? So, but yeah, give Will Fix also a follow. You can be followed over at Will Fix. Let's just see how he's doing real quick in regards to his videos. Oh my gosh, congratulations to Will. Let's go ahead and highlight this real quick. So Will is killing it, man. He is up to 4,020 subscribers, and he's over double what we are over at Maximus Crypto. And just to give you an idea how Will is killing it, so he did his first video, which was called this one, Boom XRP 25,000 overnight. It's up to 41,000 views. And let's see when that came out. So that came out on October 4th. Today is, so it's been exactly 2 weeks. Exactly 2 weeks. Let me switch my count real quick. So he's at 4,020 subscribers. So let's just add that up real quick. 4,020 subscribers in 14 days. So this is 4020 divided by 14. He averages 287 subscribers per day. If he was able to keep that momentum, what did I say, 287? Yeah, hold on. 4020 divided by 14. Yeah, 287. So 287. And let's say he was able to keep that up for 365 days a year. He would be up to roughly 105,000 subs. Now, some people say, nah, he ain't going to get to that. The heck he ain't at this momentum. He could, because what do we know? We're still in the bear market. What about when the bull run hits? You better believe there'll be a lot more eyes on everything. So Will is awesome. I'm so glad to, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't really need me, right? But we're really blessed to have Will. He's a great guy, a great friend. Nothing but great things to say about Will Fix. So give him a follow if you're not following him already. Most of you guys are. His channel is literally just called Will Space Fix, like you will fix it. And how are some of these other videos? So I've been helping out in regards to XRP over there. Max, do you make the impact that he makes? No, but let's see how I did. So I uploaded one earlier, 17 hours ago. Yeah, see, 1,300 views. You know, it's got some subs. What about the flip of the switch? 3,000 views, 2,600. And I told Will, I said, Will, you don't even have to make thumbnails. Like you can see the ones I do have like a thumbnail, right? Custom thumbnail. Oh, okay, my bad. I made one that had 6,600 views. But the key thing is, I told him, it's like, you don't even need to make thumbnails, man. Just have a good title, and you know, people they want to see you, and that's proven itself. How do we know that? I mean, look at this, for crying out loud. First video, 41,000. Part 2, 14,000. What's this, some of these other ones? I mean, some of these ones weren't as good as the others, but XRP is like gold, 5,200 views. The one about Bitcoin, 2,500. XRP has 11,000 new accounts in the last few days. Did you know? Something 10,000 views. XRP is switched on a list provided by domestically and what does it say? Cross border. I'll show you. And then he does. He gets into a breakdown about that. His videos aren't super long. I think the longest he ever did was 15 minutes. His first video. And then he had another one earlier. Was it banks are using XRP, 9.6 thousand views. But I mean, like some of these, as far as the subscribers, I've gone into the analytics. It's like 300 subscribers. Like what? It's crazy stuff. This other one, he shows a little bit of like his guitar store. I mean, look at all those Gibson Les Pauls. I mean, how cool is that? Will does know how to play. He rocks out. He jams out. You play some like Van Halen, and I mean, who doesn't like Van Halen, right? Anyway, so yeah, it's just he's killing it. So, in reality, guys, I mean, 14 days. That's 2 weeks exactly, and he's got. Let's just count this real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 videos, over 4,020 subs. I mean, that's just like he's just killing it. And obviously other people see he's killing it. Zach Rector sees he's killing it. I'm sure Rich Common Sense Crypto is probably like, who the heck is this Will Fix guy? Who knows? Maybe Hulk knows who he is at this point. But it's one of those things. It's cool. I'm ecstatic to have him. And basically, he had that conversation with me earlier today. He said, originally I wasn't even going to make content. And he's like, you actually encouraged me to do so. So I'm not trying to take credit there. I was like, really? I did? He's like, yeah, remember where you said, just get out of your comfort zone and just go ahead and try it. You never know what you can do. Well, it's called believing in yourself. Will Fix believes in himself. You can see that. But the key takeaway is you guys believe in what you have invested into. Believe in yourself. You'll get to that finish line. This whole thing of crypto is not a sprint. It's a marathon. There's going to be a lot of people who will quit this race. They'll get tired of the narrative. They'll get tired of the race and so on. And they'll quit it. But it is a marathon. And we all need to get to that finish line together. All right, I'm going to read the last bit of comments. Is ICP worth investing in? I would say yes, 100%. I don't own any yet, but I need to get with it. I need to get some. Danilo says later, glad to have you. Smoke a bowl and sleep well. Yes, I guess so. Smoke a bowl of hopium, right? I don't judge you guys that do. I mean, there's benefits to it, right? At least back pain and so on. But I imagine if I did, I'd come on here and be like, yeah, smoke a bowl of that hopium, right? Anyway, thanks for not being jealous, dude. Nah, not at all. I don't let my ego. I don't have a really ego. Why would a guy with a faded, needs to clean up and go see a barber here soon? Yeah, I know. I put it on for a week. A guy like me, I don't have it. I'm a humble guy, man. I look at it, it's a blessing that I'm even here with Will Fix. So it's a blessing that he even at one point he even had a thing saying that he's going to switch channels, and I told him, I was like, nope, you don't need to do that, man. Like, you need to embrace that channel, man. Not many people are able to catch lightning in a bottle, and he did that, and then he embraced it. And people do appreciate that. So, but no problem. You should have way more subscribers, such deep dives on everything. It'll come. But I will continue to cover Quant and Jasmy, whether I get 100 views or 10,000 or 100,000, because I believe in them. Earlier somebody asked me, Rombo, right? Nothing against Rombo. Ortega's, he's like, you put out a lot of content. You getting paid for it? No, I'm not getting paid for it. It's called I believe in the project and I love the community. Say what you want about Jasmy. It's got that kind of meme feel to it in regards to community. You know what I mean? But we have utility and lots of utility behind it. I mean, why wouldn't I want to be part of that? Thank you. Appreciate that. Jasmy's moving. Yeah, you're making money. I'm gonna talk to you a little bit later, because I'll probably maybe do well driving down the road. But yeah, I'll give my friend. This is my homie right here, Mr. Elon Musk, Mike Cornwall. I mean that 100%. Love this guy. All right, I'll give him a holler. All right, yeah, Mike. Boom, and shout out to Mrs. Muff. All right, you guys, have a blessed rest of your day. We'll see you back tomorrow with the one and only Mr. Will Fix. It's going to be a great show. Look forward to that show. I'm trying to get Will at some point to talk about Stellar, but he, of course, wants to provide a little bit more. He wants to give you guys some good content, but look forward to that. It will be at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. It will be a dual simulcast. It'll be myself, Will Fix, and yeah, I'm really looking forward. Hopefully, you guys will look forward to it as well. So, happy rest of the Wednesday. If it's for some of you guys, it's not Wednesday. I'm over on Pacific Standard Time, so it's 10:13. Some of you guys, it's like 1:13 in the morning, or if you're on Central, it's like 12:13. Crazy stuff. But yeah, we'll see you guys back tomorrow. Okay. Adios. Sayonara from the Rice Crop Consortium. Let's go. Bye bye.